He's covered. They killed my boyfriend. He's licensed. He's licensed to carry. He was trying to get out his ID and his wallet out his pocket, and he let the officer know that he had a firearm and he was reaching for his wallet, and the officer just shot him in his arm. We're waiting for back. I will, sir. No worries. I will. Fuck! He just shot his arm off. We got pulled over on Larpener.
I told him not to reach for it. I told him to get his hand out.
You told him to get his ID, sir, and his driver's license. Oh my God, please don't tell me he's dead. Please don't tell me my boyfriend just went like that.
Just keep your hands where they are, please.
Yes, I will, sir. I'll keep my hands where they are. Please don't tell me this, Lord. Please, Jesus, don't tell me that he's gone. Please don't tell me that he's gone. Please, officer, don't tell me that you just did this to him. You shot 4 bullets into him, sir. He was just getting his license and registration, sir.
Get the female passenger out.
Man, exit the car right now with your hands up. Let me see your hands. Exit now. Keep them up. Keep them up. Face
Where's my daughter? You got my daughter?
Face away from me and walk backwards. Walk backwards towards me. Keep walking. Backwards. Keep walking. Keep walking. Keep walking. Get on your knees. Get on your knees.
You know, there's a 5-year-old in the back seat. Shouldn't they have handcuffed the 5-year-old too, or maybe given a flash grenade?
You're just being detained right now until we get this all sorted out, okay?
They threw my phone, Facebook. Please don't tell me, Lord Jesus, please don't tell me.
Purse here.
Okay,
Any weapons or anything?
No, please don't tell me my boyfriend is gone. Here, take it off my hand. Please don't tell me he's gone. Please, Jesus, no! Please, no!
Stand up, walk over to me.
No, don't let him be gone, Lord! Can you get my phone?
Yep.
This is disgusting. All you hear is the cops screaming.
Yeah, but well, that's because he knows.
Because he knows his life is over.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
I'm good now.
It's hard to say. Is the cop racist or is he just scared, or both? It's just ridiculous, man.
It's
Come on.
It's called.
What do you say?
The dehumanizing of an individual by an individual.
You told him to get it, sir.
By a cop.
Man, listen to this. Listen to this. Man.
He was gonna take it off. Please don't tell me my boyfriend.
And the guy, and the thing is, the guy told him he was licensed. He told him he was carrying. The cop told him to go to get his license. And when he went to reach for his license like he was told to do, he got shot.
Hold on. What is? Yeah, she says he's never been in. Oh no! Are you kidding me? I just lost the video. Great. That's a shocking video. I don't know if I even want to watch anymore of that.
Oh, and then you look at the one in Baton Rouge.
Oh, she's over here yelling. Oh my God.
It could have been.
This is the most shocking thing I've seen.
Any of us.
The cops now because they can't. So might as well just kill him now. Might as well kill the mother too while you're at it. He's gonna hate cops now.
Yep.
Might as well just kill the whole family.
So even when you're in the midst of trying to do the right thing, we could get killed. It's just different. You know what I'm saying? It's just different. There's a another Facebook page on later on. You see this.
There he is. Crying. My life sucks. My life.
She in the car.
No, sir.
He told him. Then he was to get ID and went 4 times. So, okay, license, and while then you shoot him. Huh?
There's a disconnect here.
But see, here's
Man.
the thing.
But
here's what's
hold on, let's open the show first because
Yeah.
we have to open the show with this. This just shocked the hell out of me this morning.
Yeah.
But this is the SativaCross podcast. We're outside of Governor Christie's office every Thursday. Welcome to the show. Your host, Leo Bridgewater, Phil Dumais, Jim Miller, William Haney, Lefty Grimes. And we're pissed
Lefty.
off watching black people white. And we are going to sell a bunch of these today because people are fed up. People are
Yeah.
fed up, man.
Hey, listen, you continue on this course, and at some point, this isn't going to stick too long. People are going to get tired because this is starting to become regular news. And here's the thing: our premise is about getting PTSD expanded to get the New Jersey State's medicinal marijuana program to expand it to include amongst things, fibromyalgia, a lot of things. And so when you look at PTSD and causes of PTSD, Phil Dumais and myself, we obtained our PTSD by going to war in Baghdad in Iraq as veterans. Subsequently, it's been added on because we also have to go through the experience of being black in the United States. And so what you just saw right there on that video, that was a form of, I can only imagine how those people are going to react to it. But then look at the people who see it, because that also provides a form of indirect PTSD. There's direct and then there's indirect. Phil and I experience direct PTSD. that young woman, that young lady, and that baby that was in the backseat of the car, they experienced direct PTSD. Those of us who are watching and seeing it, for a lot of us, are experiencing indirect PTSD. So therefore, when you look at the different causes, and all it takes is just one thing, one event, whether it was about you or somebody else. All it takes is for one event for you to experience post-traumatic stress disorder. And so one of the things that we deal with on a regular basis is the dehumanization of, the African American, particularly men in the United States. And a lot of us are just, it's different when you have to live in this skin versus having taking a step back and just looking at it from a outside point of view. That looked like it felt good.
What type of racism have you experienced, Leo?
I mean, we all know about the whole cab thing and everything, but there is the kind where I've been directly called a nigger,
In the service, or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Still?
Yeah. Yeah, because you have to understand, for a lot of people, especially once they get into the
I can
military.
see that motivating.
Yeah, they don't live around black people. They don't see them. There's a lot of people who don't have.
Is this done by peers or superiors?
Both.
Yeah, see, superiors.
You're supposed to know better by it.
I would never condone it, but if I think the hardcore go over the edge thinking it's motivational, and they'll find out at what point you will react against the way you're trained to react. But that's not really why it's done.
Well, you have to understand. Look,
old
man,
school racism, if you ask me.
the KKK has infiltrated and been in the United States military for a long time. They're there. And they know how to operate within the UCMJ, Uniform Code of Military Justice. They know how to do things, and so yeah, it's really relevant. But at the same time, there's some guys I know who are, I'm not going to say racist. I'm going to say they're prejudiced and bigoted. You understand? Because, they don't have a, let's look at it like this. Name a action, there's white racism, right? Name a way that white racism has negatively impacted black people as an entire group.
I'm not sure I totally understand the question. White, mean towards whites or from whites?
No, from whites
okay.
towards. Name a way that white racism has negatively impacted black people as a
That's
group,
easy. The drug war. The drug war is number
drug
one.
War, okay, drug war is number one.
The drug war, when a father gets stopped with his family and gets treated unfairly, he has to then go explain to his children what happened.
Listen. Negatively impacted black people as a whole, not individuals. How has white racism?
then that makes them look in their rear view mirror twice as much as white people because they have more fear driving about, especially on the turnpike in the 90s. Well, that would be racial profiling when you
racial
drive.
profiling, housing. Remember, they wouldn't have, there was housing discrimination.
Loans.
Yeah. So we can go on and on and on. Correct.
But we won't.
No, we're not. I'm trying to make a point. But we can go on and name the ways that white racism has negatively impacted African Americans as a group as a whole.
Sure.
Now,
A lot more than what we mentioned.
name a way that black racism has negatively impacted white folks as a whole.
You bang all our white women.
They're
That's not black racism.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Okay. That's all I got. That's all I got.
Yeah. So it doesn't happen.
I can't. I've never been affected by it. I don't know anybody. that has.
you don't.
It's a
So
new point.
Other than being in effect in a neighborhood that's predominantly black, and you say you're by yourself.
No.
No, wait a second. I'm just saying that one time walking out of anybody that would have been white walking out of Philadelphia in the morning, 2 in the morning,
I got it.
and I was not accosted, but really intimidated by groups of people. But it was I think it was because I was white, not
Right.
just I was by myself.
Okay, but understand something.
Any white guy walking down the street would have got the same treatment. I did good. I didn't get
I'm
trouble.
Saying, I'm saying white folks as a whole, not your individual experiences.
Well,
or the
okay, I
individual
wasn't there to
experiences.
see anybody else before or after me. What I'm saying is I guarantee you anybody, white person walking down a street like that, does, and I say it's actually a reply to racism that's been predominant for centuries against men of color. You follow what I'm saying?
But what I'm trying to get you to...
I can't even really call that racism.
You can't.
It's
That's my point.
It's actually an effective white racism boomeranged back on white people. So
Right.
in other words, that actually started with white people anyway.
Well, see, here's the thing.
If you follow.
Until President Obama, you know what I'm saying, when you think about it, African Americans have never been in a position within this country have never been in a position to be able to affect the lives of white Americans as a whole. We've never been, like I said, with the exception of President Obama, we've never been able to be in that kind of a position where we could negatively affect all white folks as a whole. In the history of this country.
Let me ask you a question. Is it because Obama looks black that people say he's black? Because if you look at other black people that are black, they look white, like Rashida Jones.
Yeah,
you would
passive.
never know she was black.
Yeah. Well, no, that's just no. You know what it is, man? First of all, society looks at President Obama and says he's black.
Right.
Why is that?
Why is that?
Because that's the way we're wired to think, and
Because he looks black.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You know what I'm saying? We come in so many different shades.
Yeah.
That's what makes us beautiful. So it's not so much that we say he's black. He actually is.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is, man. That's the beauty in this. And then you ask yourself this: when you look at, let's go back even further to the slave trade. Okay, during during slavery, you think about white man goes into a room, sells off a mother and a child, separates a family, husband and wife. Think about the traumatic, the how traumatic that must have been. Never heard of any therapy for those people that went through that trauma. Think about the slave master going into the house and raping the mother in front of the kids. Never heard of therapy for the mother. Never heard of therapy for the children. You understand what I'm saying? And this went on for hundreds of years. And then there's when you think about the 3/5 compromise, where southern states wanted to count, their slaves as people so that they could have more representatives in the House of Representatives. And the northern states said, no, how about we just count 3/5 of the slave population. So that's where you get the 3/5 compromise.
And they probably negotiated that.
Yeah, they
20%,
did. Yeah,
80%,
yeah.
65%.
Yeah. Now, understand something.
But
we
we're
are talking about people.
Yeah.
So so just the fact that you can have.
But they weren't. They didn't consider black people people.
Exactly.
That's the whole problem.
So we were dehumanized.
So all these papers that they wrote up, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, it's all a bunch of crap because it's all words.
Right.
It has no meaning.
Right.
These people were not free.
It has meaning that's not abided by, but I mean, it does have meaning.
Nice on paper.
We don't need
Correct.
to follow it. Well, that's not the paper's fault. That's the people who read it and don't follow it. It's their
Correct.
fault,
Correct.
Correct.
The people that wrote it were...
Let's wind this back to medical marijuana if we can, because it did start with the fact that marijuana itself is a racist term, although against Mexicans, and that the drug war affects men of color, especially, way disproportionately, and women also. And that affects what we do, I'm curious I don't know the breakdown, even vaguely racially, of medical marijuana card holders. I'm
Within the state?
within the state. I'm
You
wondering.
know what? I
did
was
you
wondering
think
that myself, but it's not a lot.
Yeah, no, but I would think it would be disproportionate as well, and that doesn't need to be. I mean, because everybody gets sick, right? Basically about the same.
Okay, let me show you this. Let's even take it a step further. Let's look at the industry as a whole.
Okay,
Because
there you go.
when you look at African Americans, we are not represented.
I smell that.
We are barely represented in the cannabis industry as a whole. We have been.
Even patients.
Yes, but as far as being business owners and able-bodied operators within the cannabis industry, and I'm talking from Colorado to California.
Well, you're personally affecting that statistic as well.
I am.
Having
I am.
employment in a dispensary.
I missed you by like a few minutes yesterday at Breakwater.
Oh, you were there. Nice.
How'd you know he was there?
I walked in when I got there.
They
They
have
were
cameras and you see.
Yeah. Well, when I got there, because I had to go pick up my medicine too.
For
I didn't work yesterday.
For those that don't know,
Breakwater Alternative Treatment Center. It's a dispensary in Cranberry, New Jersey.
and you're functioning.
And I'm one of the trimmers there now, and so yeah.
Oh, you're working there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You didn't
Yeah.
know.
No, I didn't know you were working
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I walked
Yeah.
in yesterday, and I was talking with Krista, and I saw John and all them, and they were just like, yeah. Oh, Lefty was just here not too long ago. I was like, what?
Oh, man. I didn't
So I
know.
just missed you. Yeah, man. Yeah. What'd you get?
I bought an eighth, whether I needed it or
Me
not.
too. Me too. An eighth of what?
Blueberry.
I got blueberry 32.
Yeah, 32, exactly. You know it. What else is there? High THC? What's the highest you got? Give me that one.
Woo! Hey, man, listen. All I'm going to tell you is they got some stuff coming, boy.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Oh, man. It's not even being offered yet, but
This
they got
is
some
it.
stuff coming.
Well,
Yep.
you know.
Yup, this is what I got. Yup.
Wait, Leo, how did you become a trimmer? Did you need licensing to?
Yes, you have to be.
Yeah, I want to tell me, please.
Okay. Whatever dispensary you're looking to be employed by, they have to initiate the fingerprinting process. Then you go get fingerprinted. Just everything, and then you get fingerprinted. And then it takes like 6 weeks. And then the state sends the dispensary your card and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That shows that you are, in fact, licensed to work in the,
Yeah.
because in the state of New Jersey, you actually have to be licensed.
Yeah, that's what
to
I was
work in
saying.
the-
How do
in
you
the cannabis
get
industry.
the licensing for it?
Yeah,
That's
it has to be
easy.
initiated by the dispensary.
Okay.
So I would suggest sending your resume to
Yeah.
your any dispensary that's
Yeah.
within reason for you.
Yeah.
And then hopefully they bring you in and start you off like I had to start off as a
That's
trimmer.
cool. Yeah, thanks. I always wanted to know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Leo, you're going to get the 60% discount of cannabis now, aren't you? 50% or something?
I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
here's the thing, though. I get the discount because I'm a veteran. And here's the thing, Jim. Not only do I get a discount as a veteran, but if let's say there's something that's already on sale, I get the sale price plus the veteran discount. Yeah.
Oh, that adds up.
Oh, they do? Yeah. Yeah. See,
But
so
you still have to pay sales tax.
yes. Which
I think they should include that in the veteran deal if they're going to do that.
no, you know what? I don't have a problem.
Oh, talk on the mic, Phil.
Oh, we got a mic. I'm sorry. I
Got a
didn't
mic.
know we had one there. Have a seat, man.
They actually do that at every dispensary. That's pretty cool and everything. Cause when I was in California, they did that in California also. As long as you show your military ID card, you get the discount plus you get the military discount, which is pretty awesome.
Have a seat.
Nice.
Yeah.
Join the podcast.
So it's like we're paying close to nothing.
Yeah.
It's like that in Colorado also.
That's good. And for those who might be listening or watching and don't know, of course, you are a veteran as well. And while we're real quick talking on the subject, Philippe and I both had a little bit of time off on Wednesday
49.
and Tuesday rather, and we were not really content
So-
just to wait. I'm sorry. I thought we were going whole. It's all right.
But what we were saying was getting, being represented within the industry. And another reason, and that's another motivating factor for me in terms of the work that we're doing here, not just to get the medicinal marijuana program expanded, but to get ahead of the whole phasing African Americans and people of color out of the industry before it even gets here. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Because here's the thing: we want it here. We so desperately want it here. I would even go as far as to say we need it here. Okay. The thing is that once it gets here, I would like for it to be done in such a way where it's not so proportionately one shade of color. Yeah. Because especially with all the hard work we're putting in, and so the legacy here being seeing more people of color, more African Americans represented within the industry as possible. Because we're the ones when you look at
labeling, getting arrested.
Yeah.
For all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So if oh my God. I love you, man.
Phil, what did you think about yesterday?
Yesterday?
Well, I played a video before.
I don't think you saw
You
it.
talking about with the gentleman that got shot and everything like that at the gas station?
No.
Was that at the gas station? Not that one?
That was 2 days ago, yes.
Okay.
But the one from last night was...
what was his name?
The guy from last night?
Nah, I didn't.
No.
I didn't get a chance to see that.
I think it was Philandry.
Another black person got shot last night.
Yeah.
Oh, it happened in front of his 4-year-old daughter and his girlfriend in the car.
The one 2 days ago that happened in Oklahoma happened in front of his family too and shit at the gas station. Yeah.
Baton Rouge. Yeah.
Grab a mic if you want to talk. Grab a mic.
Yeah, Louisiana, Minnesota, and Oklahoma, all this week within 4 days, I think it was, or 5.
It's even been 5 days because the one that happened in Oklahoma was like 2 days ago.
Yeah. And the one, then there's the one from last night.
Here's one. Here's a good one. Check this one out. I don't know if you can hear this. Yeah, put on your headphones. You can hear this one. It's just shocking. The cops pull over an ambulance with somebody in the back, sick person in the back, and they choke the ambulance driver. White cop chokes the black ambulance driver.
Now. There. Now. Oh, you now. What's wrong? What's going on? No, I'm talking to the driver. No, I'm talking to you. I'm the medic. No, you better get back in that ambulance. I'm talking to the driver.
I'm in charge of this unit, sir.
Okay.
My name is Maurice White. I'm a critical care paramedic.
I'm going to give you a ticket for failure to yield. And when I go by you saying what's going on, you don't even give me no hand gestures now. I ain't going to put up with that shit. You understand me?
And I won't put up with you talking to my driver like that.
I ain't listening to you, buddy. You get your ass back in that ambulance or I'll take you in. I'm talking to the driver.
And if you would.
Come over here, Paul.
No, we got a patient in this unit right now.
Okay, you want to go ahead and pull over to the side of the road when there's an emergency vehicle behind you?
You ran up on us too quickly.
I did not run up on you quickly, buddy.
Yes, you did.
You better get back in that ambulance before you get your butt to jail now. You understand me?
We're going to get my patient to the hospital. You can take me to jail. We'll discuss this, okay?
Come here, Paul.
No. I got a patient in this.
Get your ass.
Now the cop is attacking the ambulance driver. Yeah, the ambulance driver is trying to get a patient to the hospital, and the cop is attacking him.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Really?
Why I can
is shocking.
appreciate how wrong that is. I gotta know why it's on our podcast.
Shocking.
Right now.
This
I
just
know,
happened too, and this is
I know,
this
but
is shocking.
we got a lot of stuff we may not get to.
Yeah, let's get to it. But this is the drug war. This is
Pretty
all
much.
part of the drug war. The attack on black people is an attack.
Yes.
It's the drug war.
It also feeds the whole propaganda machine in which and makes it easier. Look, folks looking at that will say, somehow or another, because of the color of his skin, he deserved it.
Yeah, he did something wrong.
Just like with the guy in Baton Rouge. The cops shoot him, the whole 9 yards, they do all that stuff, and then you know what CNN reports? That he had a criminal record.
Yeah, I saw that.
So that made it okay.
Yeah.
That dehumanized him. It made it okay for him to, obviously he had it coming to him. He deserved it in some kind of way. So that, and that's the regular thing. It's just so that you don't, so that folks don't have to feel sorry or feel too guilty about what exactly happened. You know, and if we're going to, if you're at some point as a nation, we're going to have this conversation. But if we do, it's going to require everybody getting a little bit, you know, more naked than they want to be. And when you peel back the layers, you're not going to like it. It's very uncomfortable with what you hear and feel and see. Now, that being said, going back to what Jim was talking about as far as, you know,
Jim has some stories here.
Staying on point with our actual, you know, true message here, which is, you know, expanding the state's medicinal marijuana program to include PTSD. You know, and the review panel sent out a public notice asking for suggestions on items that should be on the state's, you know.
I have a problem with that.
Okay.
They're making us pick and choose who suffers and dies now. They're making us pick and choose. When they were doing all the picking and choosing all this time, who suffers, who doesn't suffer, now we have to pick who suffers and dies. So do we pick a disease that kills the most people? Do we pick a disease that kills the most children? Do we pick a disease that hurts the most? Do we pick a disease that affects us the most? What disease do we pick, or do we just throw darts at a dartboard?
Well, you mean in order of getting it done, or what do you mean?
I just don't like having to pick a disease. How do you know? Who makes me God to say you can suffer and you can't?
I'll answer that best
Please.
I can. Is eventually everybody should be asking that question, and the answer is that it should be their physicians who pick and choose which disease.
Thank you.
It should be no registry. It should be if you can prescribe a Schedule II narcotic.
That's how it is.
If you have a DEA license to do that, you have a license in a state. You know that the state should recognize and appreciate that, and that's been one of the big stumbling blocks in our program is the physician registry, where 99% are not registered. That means you have to look for loopholes and add a doctor and add expense because he's not your regular doctor, and it should always have been that. Who are the legislators to decide MS gets it, muscular dystrophy gets it, but something else doesn't?
Has that ever happened before in the history of the United States, where they pick and choose?
Yeah, other states have done that. Not
for what drugs, though?
Not other drugs.
Just for cannabis.
No, just for cannabis.
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
Here's the thing: it has to be like what we are witnessing at this moment in our lifetime is the evolution in the thought process when it comes to cannabis. And you know, folks who are brand new to this, because for a lot of them to be, you know, on the side of, okay, this is something that we can actually use, we can do something with, we can make some money with, and everything like that. The one thing that does is very clear to me is that they can be very cavalier in how they address the issues when it comes to cannabis, because they already, you know, first of all, we've been fighting the whole Cheech and Chong thought process. We, you know, I think that we're Cheech and Chong. We've been fighting that.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, actually, the drug czar, Barry McCaffrey, referred to it as Cheech and Chong medicine when speaking directly about Cheryl.
See?
Was speaking about Cheryl and I getting arrested on Counterpoint or something with Tucker Carlson and Barry McCaffrey and James Carville on our side. Yeah, they called it Cheech and Chong medicine. Now, I had the opportunity to meet Tommy Chong and Cheech Marin. In the 93.3 studio when they came to do their first tour in like 26 years or something. And I was talking to Tommy and I told him that. And I said that after everything we did that day and get arrested, all Barry McCaffrey, and he actually growled because Barry McCaffrey was after him as well. And when I mentioned his name. And I said, so he's just said we were doing nothing more than practicing Cheech and Chong medicine. And then Tommy Chong said, hey man, I think I resent, hey man, do I resent that? You know, it was like he was doing a routine and I felt like I was Cheech.
He was processing it.
But then while I was so captivated by talking to him, he had a postcard of me in Charlotte I'd just given him. And he goes, hey, Cheech, this is woman I was telling you about. So they'd already talked about it. He knew about Charlotte. But the point was, for me, as I was talking to him, and it was in a break during the show, and when he said, hey, Cheech, he wasn't over there. He was here. You know, I was like, the middle stooge for a moment, and it was really pretty funny. But it is that. It's that Cheech and Chong medicine effect. We don't know if it works. We're not sure. You can't show us gold standard a double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical crossover test done with USA-approved marijuana, you know, and all that. You know, we can talk all we want about the tests have never been allowed, but it's still that, does it work or not? And we touched upon something I think is pretty important. The health department is going to add new conditions, or they're empowered to. The advisory panel, as we know, they're going to take applications, and they've got a template for the application, so you know what to bring and what they expect. And they're going to do that during the month of August. But I was forced to think out of the box to discuss this on that NJTV. And it suddenly struck me that maybe we should do the same amount of work for new indications that was done for the ones that are in there now, like MS.
Yeah.
But we're not privy to the work that the legislature did and the deals that were made and which indications, because it was legislators that played doctor and decided multiple sclerosis, yes; muscular dystrophy, yes; AIDS, yes; glaucoma, yes. You know,
but
chronic pain, no; neuropathic pain, no. My point is this, Leo: what work did they do, and why should veterans with post-traumatic stress or anybody with post-traumatic stress be held to a higher standard than the whatever 7,000 some people with cards? Why be held to a newer, higher standard? Why not find out, because they're an advisory panel. I bet if they asked for, show me the work you did, they'd be appalled at the lack of work, as I am. Not that I think they should have done more and made it stronger. It's just that you can't hold everybody else to a higher standard. And they didn't have the same tests that they're going to insist on, I'm afraid, for including post-traumatic stress. They didn't have those tests for any of the other indications that got approved. How is that? How do you? I mean,
I'll explain it to you, and it's really simple. Understand? Remember, you and I had this conversation before when I said, when I'm talking to people and individuals, particularly those in opposition of, and I already know exactly where I am in the conversation the moment someone uses the term gateway drug.
Oh yeah.
If they
still do too.
Yeah, because and I said that if you are someone who is in opposition of or is brand new to, and you're using the term gateway drug, you literally have just dated yourself.
Yeah.
I already know that in the context of this conversation, I am way more advanced than you if you're still using that term.
Which means you got to kind of dumb it down to explain it.
Exactly. So, and remember you said that, because here's the thing. These are the same people who are just now starting to come on board with this. So the way that they have been going about it and handling it, thumbing their way through, they are doing it exactly like you would think someone who's brand new to it would be doing it. They're half-assing through it because they don't know, and they're dated. And this is, and just look, getting them to just get up off their behinds and doing this work and paying this attention was a task in of itself.
A big task.
Yes, and so now what we have to do is we pretty much have to educate them.
But how do we get them to sit down and be educated? In other words,
money.
reaching them.
Money.
Well, we're trying to do that every Thursday. We're doing that right now.
Yes, what we have to do is we have to change. We have to speak their language. We have to use the language that gets them, that grabs their attention, that gets them thinking, that gets and the language that we have to use in order to do that is money, especially with how much money the state needs, especially and I spoke to you.
So saying something, and also when we do, about the third number in any sentence or dialogue gets people to not stop listening, but they don't get the 25% or the 30% of the people that were in the minority. The simple stuff like in Colorado this last quarter, the second quarter of this year, revenue from cannabis tax revenue outpaced that from alcohol. So, in other words, just saying that gets people right away.
Now you get their attention.
Right away, anybody that heard that would be thinking, well, New Jersey has more people, we'd get more money. Likely correct. I mean, that's a good assumption.
That's a good assumption. Yeah.
And you could look at what we get from alcohol then and say, if we did what Colorado did, we would have an estimate of how much money it would be. And it's, sometimes you get what you think's a big number, and it's like, well, that would only be 1.5% of the budget. That's still sizable.
Here's the thing. That's 1.5% of the budget that we didn't have.
You're right, yeah.
And it probably
whatever number it is, it doesn't have to get cut from other programs.
I was going to say, and it's new money.
Yeah.
It's not. This would be a new shot. You understand what I'm saying? Because we never would have, as a state, we never would have drawn money from this resource here. The first time we start drawing revenue from that, then that will be the first time that this state has ever seen that kind of money coming from that part.
I know that we don't get much in sales tax from the amount being, and to me, the real shame of the sales tax is it doesn't appreciably affect New Jersey's finances, but it incredibly affects patients' lives who can't afford a month's supply. And Leo, I did the calculations. Suppose somebody runs out of medicine because they can't afford a month's supply. The calculations say that, generally speaking, on the average, you might expect it to the tax that they pay to cost them a day and a half's worth of medicine, because if they didn't pay tax, they would have had more, and it would have lasted them, on the average, a day and a half. So while it doesn't sound like a lot, the calculation is for every hour of pain, and it can be great pain, that patient suffers, for every hour the state and that's an hour of that day and a half that they wouldn't have had pain without state tax. In other words, if there was no tax, they wouldn't be in pain, but because there is a tax, this is what they suffer. The state realizes 50 cents per hour into their coffers for this pain, which means it's about less than a penny a minute. Now, when you're in fairly great pain, a minute is a very long time.
Yes.
You have to breathe. It's hard to breathe when you're in that kind
Your
of
whole
pain.
pain management.
It's and you tell somebody, okay, ready, go, and here's a minute. Boom, done. Now the state just made a penny because of that, and if they didn't make that penny, statistically, you would have had that minute pain-free. It blows me away. It's the risk-benefit analysis that people should do with just about any decision. The risk is clear. It's lack of medicine for the people who can't afford a full month's supply in the first place, and the benefit is slim, as compared to social use, where if a person paid even greater tax, it's cutting into their social use time, but that's not essential.
And also, it's something I could live with.
Yeah.
Because at least I have access to it.
Yeah.
And
you're not looking over your shoulder.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, because look at also what it affects. It also affects the whole, prison industrial complex. The numbers are dwindling. It takes a conversation between me and the cops. I actually had a conversation with the police officer the other day, and he told me, he said,
it wasn't a mandatory conversation, was it?
No, we were in Wawa and having a really good talk, and he said to me, he said, to be honest with you, man, he was like, it needs to be completely legal. And I said, really? He said, look, man, I don't have a problem with somebody doing it in the comfort of their home. He said, it's just like with alcohol. As long as you're in your house and you're doing it, you're drinking it responsibly, you're not operating a vehicle, you're not doing all this other stuff. He was like, I don't care.
Why wouldn't he?
He was like, but because of the way the law is, now I have to say something to you if I see it. I'm bound by it.
Yeah.
And he was like, and then he looked at me. He said, "Man, I really don't want to do it." And I was like, "Wow, I get it. I understand." And I appreciate. And I told him I really appreciate him being open and honest with me and expressing it because and wanting him to know that I think about them in those terms too, as far as the police go. You know, they got enough on their plate already. If we can lighten the load, that'd be great. Basically, that's what they're saying.
You ask any officer of the law of any type who's had a bad day what caused it, it's never somebody being high because they were high.
Yep.
That caused it. It might be somebody that's drinking. It might be somebody that's prescription medications. But rarely is it. So this guy was such a wise ass because he was high and it made me. No, I mean it doesn't generally happen.
Okay, I gotta go. I'm going to try to get back here, and I'll have my son with me.
All right.
All right.
So
See you
Leo
soon.
will no longer be in the house for a while. Well, actually, you'll be in your house, not our house. You'll be in a house, just not this one. So, Advocate Buddy Philippe Dumais, how are you?
Hello, Mr. Miller. How you doing today?
By my standards, pretty good. Actually, by other people's standards, pretty good too. The shade, plenty of ice water. It's not all that bad.
Nah, not at all.
Once I don't move around, it'll be a sweat day packing back up. We had a good day 2 days ago.
Yes, we did. I was just about to ask you about that.
We had a good day, and for the benefit of those listening and watching, we both had an afternoon where we had, well, not free time, but we could allot time to doing something, and we want Senator Sweeney, the president of the Senate, to post the post-traumatic stress medical marijuana bill before the summer recess. So we knew we couldn't get an appointment because we're not constituents and just don't call up and say, "I'd like to talk to Senator Sweeney." So we thought, based on what I've been doing for a long time, my suggestion, we rode 45 miles south to visit his West Hampton local office and cold call. And as always, you walk in. As always, there's somebody by the door that says, "Can I help you?" But the new wrinkle was there was no staff members there. She was the only person in the office, no staff member. And she called herself a receptionist, which means don't talk to me, just leave a message. So we knew pretty quick that we could drop the letter off that you'd prepared explaining, but our goal was to talk with somebody and then leave the letter for clarification. And yet it was kind of fun after getting all the way down there. We both thought, it's the flow, whatever it is, it is. I thought, well, let's stop by the State House on the way back.
Don't forget we grabbed lunch before we did that too.
What's that?
We grabbed lunch too. We had the best pizza.
I got to tell you, I'd give a shout out to the pizza place. Seriously, I have not had better pizza than at New Jersey, and I love pizza. And shout out to Maruka's on the boardwalk before they burned down. I think they burned down, but it was actually, I got to say, man, it was better than that.
It was. I even ate the crust.
I'm trying to think of ways to go back and get pizza. I don't pass by there though. It's 45 miles towards nowhere I go. But anyway, when I learned a little bit out of that, but we didn't consider it wasted time. To our credit, it was thought of as you never can see success. This might play a part. We just don't know yet. So when we got back to the State House, I wanted to go in and clear up, make sure we had the permits available because it wasn't real clear. And we've done it before. Each party, the minority and the majority, has a Senate office and an Assembly office. That's 4: Senate majority, Senate minority, Assembly majority, Assembly minority office, where you can go and give a letter to them. They'll stamp it and put it in that person's inbox or forward it to their office, wherever it is in the building. And we've done that before, so I kind of didn't think we were going to get much attention when I said, well, this was really not supposed to be left here. We wanted to talk to somebody on staff, on the Democratic staff, and then this would back it up. And then, of course, as you remember, she said, no, really all we can do is leave it here, and I'll see that Senator Sweeney gets it. And then I said, something to the effect of, if we leave it here as a combat veteran that you're sending away then, or something like that. And the next reply was, wait a minute. She walked around the corner, came back with another woman who said, follow me, I'll take you to a conference room, somebody will be right with you. And I'm like, okay, I count for squat compared to you. And you know what? Do I not know that? Was that not exactly? I tried to get in on the merits of the issue. And all I had to do was drop that you were a combat veteran and you have a stake in this happening. And that was perceived as going to be bad PR to turn this man away. Something's going on. So when we did sit down, it wasn't, hi, I'm the guy. Furqan Mouzon, M-O-U-Z-O-N, general counsel to the New Jersey Senate Democratic office came in. And am I correct when I say he actually, when I say, and he listened, that's a phrase. He listened to what you were saying. He listened to what I was saying, about the state issues, listened to what you were saying. And how would you characterize his opinion of it,
He was very interesting. He looked like to us like not only did he listen, he was actually partaking in our conversation, and it
That's
showed.
a good way to put it.
No,
he was.
It showed to us like he was definitely interested in what we were saying, and he was interested in the whole in the whole movement we were doing.
He was.
Yes.
And I see a lot of people pretend interest, and as I told him, I feel satisfied with the conversation. And what I liked, and tell me if you feel the same, I know you do, so that's rhetorical, is he asked the right questions. He asked about the bill a little bit, and then the number, and he wrote it down. And then he asked, who's the sponsor? And I told him Senator Scutari. And then he said something about, I don't remember if he questioned, has Senator Scutari asked Senator Sweeney to post it, or maybe Senator Scutari hasn't asked him to post it. And I never really knew that might be the way it goes. Bills get out of committee all the time. And the one that needs to post it on the floor for a vote doesn't have to look through all of them. He'll look through the ones the sponsoring senator asks him to post. Then he'll look at it. So I'm guessing Senator Scutari didn't. Now, normally we have no way of finding out.
I mean, it's only been 2 days.
What's that?
As of right now, it's only been 2 days since we
but what Furqan did was say, I'm going to give Senator Scutari a call immediately, or that day he indicated, and ask him if there's a reason why it's not getting posted, or will he be asking the senator. So he's going to call, and I think he's going to take part in that conversation too. I think that even though that one's he's sending out, he's going to be taking part in his own conversation to do what he can. I did, by the way, fire him off an email yesterday. Yeah, saying it was a great visit, and asked him if he'd had any progress getting in touch with Senator Scutari, and if so, was it towards our end goal? And then I said, we really need to know the answers to this, because veterans are and will be asking where we are on this. So just having an answer, good or bad, whether it's a successful answer or not, being in the loop, veterans thinking and knowing they're in the loop. It's not, I don't know, find out when it does or doesn't happen, including people this affects and keeping them informed without them begging for the information would be the biggest step we've taken in a long time. So, I expect I'll probably get a reply of some kind next day or two, and I hope it's positive.
It felt like it was positive that day.
Yeah,
I felt a lot of positive energy that day.
It was. I just hope something bonehead isn't holding it up, like, well, the health department's going to be dealing with it, so And we will not accept that because we've done everything, the legislature has done everything it takes to get within this one vote. They need to be posted, voted, and it goes to the governor's desk. So after doing all that work to not take one floor vote, it really isn't going to take all that long. You can't not take that step just because the health department might do it. The health department might think about it for a year. You know, it may take, there's no time limit for the recommendations, and then the health department doesn't have to take the recommendation of the panel. So I say let's give them one less thing to consider and get the governor to sign this bill. And we talked to him last week, the governor, and in his way he gave no indication he was going to veto it. He gave every indication he will seriously consider it, and as we know from Wayne Brini at Brini's Old World Market, who sees the governor on a regular Saturday basis, told him he'd sign it. And when I asked for verification, he simply said, "We've already had that conversation." We did, in a spirited way, not an objectionable way. So I'm telling everybody he's going to sign it. Remember the lady at the Senate office? She said, or no, at his office, at Sweeney's office, he's never going to sign the bill.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of didn't want to tear into her exactly, but as politely as I could, I let her know how wrong she is and what she was basing that on. And I think she realized we've done our homework. I mean, we make a good team. You know, it's nice for me to be able to know if you were there by yourself, for instance, you'd get the message across. But if she said he'll never sign it and why, well, he said so, you wouldn't be able to say, no, he didn't. But I was able to say, no, he didn't say that. You're referring to him saying, I'm done expanding the bill, assuming this is an expansion, but he also said that before he signed a bill into law which made New Jersey, not Colorado, not California, not Washington State, New Jersey, the first state to allow a Schedule I substance on school property, medical marijuana, for children who have registration cards. And she and everybody else said he'd never sign it. Wrong, wrong, wrong. So I was right and said he'd sign it, so why don't we listen to me now, because I got a good track record and you don't. Okay, I didn't say it like that, but that was going on in my head. You know, I got a filter. It was, as Philippe will say, no, Jim was better decorum than that.
Now you're right. You do make a great team because at the end of the day, you know, like you said, if I would have went there by myself, I probably would have gotten through. But it wouldn't have been clear if you were.
And if I went by myself, you saw what would have happened.
Yes,
I would have handed in a letter and left, and it would go in with all the other letters, and I'd have talked to nobody. So. I hope we get to do this again when necessary, and I hope that it's not necessary for a long time.
I feel like we're going to do it again, but I feel like it's not just going to be me and you. I feel like it's going to be me and you, and next time it's going to be another veteran with another story.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do that again with 2 more veterans with another story.
Well, thank you so much.
So we're definitely going to be looking towards that.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
Appreciate it. We do accept donations. We're a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization. And as much as a donation, we appreciate the statement of support it makes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's usually people that are suffering that get it.
That's podcast money, Lefty.
Thank you.
Well,
I feel like we're definitely going to be doing it again, Mr. Miller.
You just said right after a good feeling and you're talking good and, you know, we have good coincidences. How often has anybody really walked by and donated money to us? Okay, a couple times at best.
Rare.
So right when he's feeling good, good things happen. He was feeling good when we walked in here yesterday. Good things happen. When Leo sits his butt down in a chair, people show up. The governor shows up. So when you show up, when Leo shows up, when veterans show up, good things happen.
Yes.
Regularly. It's like, I don't believe in signs necessarily, but I notice them. And I see it happen all the time. It's like, I think a message for everybody else. Now, on Facebook, there's a lot of, why my medicine and it helps me and I hurt and all that. And I'm saying to people now, yes, I agree. That's a proper statement. However, you're preaching to the choir. Have you said this to your legislators? Well, I shouldn't have to tell them because I'm like, but you do.
Yeah, you kind of do.
You do. Otherwise, why should we want to hear what we already know on a freaking regular basis from somebody who's not willing to dive? There, that's the tapping of a phone, and then go, why should I do the same thing?
I have to call Sweeney. I'm going to call him right now. Here, let me do it. What's his?
Yeah, you know what?
Let me get his number.
Seriously, I know you want the on-air thing, but could you do it just like a citizen and see what happens, and then tell them and ask them to come on there? Because I don't want them to say no because of the podcast. See if you can have that conversation.
Dan,
first.
this is why I never asked for permission. I asked for forgiveness. This is why. This is why I do that. I never ask for permission, ask for forgiveness. That's my rule from now on. Okay, you're right. You're absolutely right, Jim. I'm sorry for even bringing that up.
No, give them a call. Don't be a wussy like everybody else I'm talking about.
I'm a sheep when I'm around you.
That puts you in the same.
I'm one of your sheep. I'm sorry.
No. It's we want
whatever you want, man.
We want to ask them to be on the air.
I do.
Then ask him to be on the air while you're not on the air, so he might say something. In other words, it's sort of like. We have a question. We're having a podcast. You're not on the air at the moment, but we'd like to put you on the air, or I can just ask you the question and paraphrase or whatever. Go ahead and give it a shot.
Yeah, I'll do it.
He's really gotten only a few calls. I mean, we try to get people calls off, and they do. But when I called the office number, the woman taking the call actually seemed like. She wasn't, another call. It's like, and what is this about? And what is it that you want? In other words, I'm not helpful that they are getting enough calls. So no matter how you call.
A lot of times when I call from the podcast, we get instant like, or I'm on the air. Oh, okay, yes, sir. Right away, sir. That's the kind of respect we get. So, yeah.
You're on air. You're on air. You're on air.
Who has Sweeney's number?
I'm going to be real bad. I'm going to be feeling wrong if I got the wrong name. Is this LJ?
Yes.
LJ.
Got it.
Got your name, man. Got his name right.
And this is Lefty. You didn't meet him.
Nice to meet you, man.
LJ, I'm bad with names. You have no idea how. I don't care what your name is. I almost never remember. I remembered your name, guy. I did. You must have made a good impression on me.
My name is really hard to remember, actually.
Well, LJ's a couple of letters. Your actual name. What's your actual name?
Leo.
Say your full name.
Leo Bridgewater Jr. Leo Marcel.
That's not hard to remember. LJ's harder than that, Well, anyway, it's you and
he was actually present when we were
doing committee testimony.
Yes.
And was actually probably in the upper 90 percentile of people paying attention.
Yep.
He was paying better attention than the people Leo was speaking to.
Senator Vitale said something to him about it.
Oh, nice.
Senator Vitale was like, "Do you know you were more interested in this than?"
Yes, I said LJ made his dad look good.
Yeah. And so we've had my son and I have had the conversation regarding, PTSD and, the state's medicinal marijuana program and what that is trying to fight for. All of his battle buddies and stuff.
Here's Yeah, it would be the West Deptford. Well, the West Deptford number is the number I called, and he's not going to be there. He's got to have a number up here.
Salem? No, or here.
You might ask, is there a number you could reach somebody on staff at the State House? Does he have a State House number to call?
Let's call Salem.
Yeah, and see if there's a State House number.
This should be fun. Let's see if it works. Hey, it was working.
Uh-oh.
It's working today. I love when our phone system works. All right, let's call Senator Sweeney's office.
I'm going to get up for a second.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hi, this is the legislative office of Sweeney, Berzachelli, and Talbot. How can I help you?
Oh, yes, hi. My name is Lefty Grimes. You're on the air. I'm doing a podcast in front of the governor's office, and we just wanted to know, is there a way to reach Senator Sweeney this morning at the in Trenton?
I can certainly pass your message along to see if that's a possibility. Where did you say you're calling from again?
We're right in front of the State House. We're doing a podcast right in front of Chris Christie's office right now.
Every Thursday.
Yeah, every Thursday we're here. We'd like to speak to him about PTSD, about putting the bill up for a vote.
2345.
2345.
Yeah, the fact is that if he doesn't put this up for a vote before the summer recess, as an example, during a 6-week recess, about 30 New Jersey veterans will kill themselves. So it's very important because it fell off the table because of lack of action in a Senate committee last year to get it this far, this fast, to where it's one vote, the floor vote, away from going to the governor's desk. And the governor indicated to us last week that he'd sign it.
Yeah.
When he came to buy the podcast. So
Is this Senate Bill 2345?
yes, sir.
Okay. And what's a good phone number to reach you guys at?
908-616-0682.
Okay, you're looking to have Senator Sweeney come out and appear on your podcast.
Oh,
to
that
talk
would
about this
that would
bill.
be fantastic.
Yeah.
We're
Is
here.
that's
We're here till 2:00, but probably a little later today if there's any chance he'll stop by.
Yeah.
By the way, tell him my name's Jim Miller. I'm co-founder of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey, and the senator was coming in one day before we set up, and we did chat for a minute, and he professed great admiration for what we do, and that he was a supporter. And I told him, we know you're a supporter. That's why we're calling now, because we know it's not adversarial. But we just didn't know if there was a good reason that it wasn't posted, and we're hopeful that it will be. And any consideration he would give to coming on out, no surprises, straightforward. And
phone number? Whose phone number did I get?
This is Lefty Grimes' phone number.
Okay, can you spell his name for me?
LEFTYGRIMES. My first name is Edward, actually. Edward Lefty Grimes, just in case.
And
I'm here with Jim Miller. Also.
Yeah, we're co-hosts of the podcast, so you could also mention it's the co-founder of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana. He may remember who that is.
What's the name of the podcast?
The Telling It Like It Is podcast. Yes, I know. We stole that from the governor when he was running for president, but we figured we were telling it like it is, and
proud.
he wasn't. So
We're not above that.
we offered to stop calling it that if he'd come on the podcast, and it was no deal. So it's still the name of our podcast.
Yeah.
So we can thank the governor for giving us such an apropos name.
And it's put on, and the podcast is put on by the Coalition for Medical Marijuana?
Correct. They sponsor it. It's a SativaCross podcast is the name of, he does other podcasts, but he tames it down pretty good for this. And yes, and we do this every Thursday, so this is the 14th Thursday in a row this year. And we did it 33. We did it 33 Thursdays last year. And also, Reed Gusior is a regular guest.
Yeah, he's been great.
So
Reed's awesome.
So
And you're in front of the State House?
yeah, right out. You walk out the steps. There we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got plenty of ice water too. So
Yeah, come get some ice water.
Okay, I'll pass your message along, okay?
thanks a lot.
What's your name?
My name is Eric.
Eric, thank you so much,
Thanks
man.
for the consideration.
Eric.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Cool.
You too.
All right. See, that's the kind of people we like.
Now let's see if that yields some sort of results.
Go ahead. Give me one in the butt.
Whoa! You said all the boys.
Kick me.
No, sit down. I owe you. I still owe you $1 billion for no.
One in the. Give me one.
Yeah, Lefty'd rather beg for forgiveness and ask permission. He was 1,000% right. I was 1,000% wrong. I would get on my knees and beg your forgiveness.
When does that ever
But I
happen?
gave you a shot to kick me in the butt, and you didn't take it. When you're right, you're right, and when I'm wrong, man. Seriously.
You're not wrong.
No, I was wrong about,
You're never wrong.
wishy-washy, and you stepped up and made it happen, man,
No, but I need you to give me that other point of view, though, because I need that.
Yeah.
The devil on my shoulder.
I wasn't particularly expecting that he'd ask. Now, let me. Friend?
Something's going on. The news is here.
Oh, good. Maybe they're coming out for an announcement from the senator. Okay, let me give you some of my logic, and you know what? Throw it out the window if you want, because I'm not coming off a springboard of making a great decision. Generally, who we talk to understands the question, and he wouldn't invite Senator Sweeney out here to tell us it's not going to get posted and why. So what I'm saying is, I think that he's going to post it. and he knows he's going to post it.
Right.
And he says, see if Senator Sweeney will come out to the podcast. That's why he would be saying that. You see the logic
kinda
there?
coincides
okay,
with-
yeah, you picture yourself Senator Sweeney. You're not going to sign it. You don't know if you're going to sign it. Do you want to go? Do you want to go come and talk to people like us and say you're not? No. So, yeah, you see what I'm saying about that? You can just nod your head. I know you don't get a mic.
Yes.
Yeah, Senator Sweeney's guy would not have suggested that he may be coming out here to give us bad news. That's not how they do it. Look from his point of view. Suppose he is going towards that way. Suppose Scutari did call him because Fuquan got him to call. Suppose that already happened and I haven't got the message yet. That would mean that the Senator Sweeney would have been saying to Scutari, yeah, I think I'll get that up. And now he gets this call from you in an ongoing podcast. If it was, nah, I'm not going to do it, this guy would have known. Who am I whispering to? He would have known and not suggested this. Conversely, I'm telling you, he does know, and I'm guessing we're going to have the Senate president come out here, sit down. Who do we boot? Me?
I guess I'm getting out.
Going to boot somebody,
Somebody's
you know.
getting booted.
I could reach across, push Leo down, and pick up his chair.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, this is good. But anyway, I think we could be looking forward to that. And since I have already talked with him, he'll recognize me and probably feel like, oh, this is what the guy told me. And I invited him on the podcast then, and he said, I'd love to. But we weren't set up. He didn't mean then.
That's right.
He did say that.
That's right.
So I think it's coming together.
Wow.
Tenacity could be paying off. And,
wow.
You know, we might not want to wrap up on the dot at 2 today, perhaps a little later on, you know. We don't know, but I'm feeling pretty good about that. I think it's because either Philippe or Leo or both of them are here. Stuff like that doesn't happen otherwise.
That's
I think
right.
it's the convergence of both of them and their respective karma that keeps paying off.
A lot of energy in here right now.
So that was a good move, man, inviting the Senate president out to a podcast during the podcast. Wow.
Let's see.
And I didn't get my butt kicked for thinking it wouldn't happen. But, you know, hey, listen, what I learn is, or I have to give is, I get to explain to people. I keep saying why they should call and do stuff.
Yes, exactly.
I'm wrong about that myself. I'm one of them, well, he's never going to, you know, and you prove me wrong. And I like to be able to tell other people that when I don't follow my own advice and I don't hop on opportunity myself, I am inadequate because I have the foundation to do that. Likewise, anybody can dial a number and tell an answering machine that they think a bill should be posted. So I feel that I have a right to goad people, poke people,
I
push,
love that
be
word.
rude.
That's my favorite word.
Goad?
Goad.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. You know, almost sounds like it should be the G word. You know,
The G word.
you know, goad. He said goad.
Hey, let's goad the governor.
Yeah. I try to say one new word a day, but I've already said that word before. So usually we're looking over our shoulder to see if the governor's coming, and now we're looking over
I
our shoulder.
apologize, fellas.
What for?
We have a young lady here who's just
You don't have to
trying get-
apologize for having a young lady here.
Yeah, she's seeking information on how to get, seen and how to get information given her chronic pain. And she just wanted some information on the state's medicinal marijuana program.
That's this is why we're here, so people can get in contact.
I wanted to make a point earlier before I left to go pick up LJ. One of the best parts about working at Breakwater is you work with folks. You get firsthand exposure to actual patients. And a lot of the people that you work with are actual patients. Some of the people you work with are actual patients. And you get to, I get to hear the firsthand accounts of what it's like to live with the different conditions that people have to live with. Like, I know someone who suffers from Crohn's disease, and hearing what medical marijuana does to alleviate the symptoms that comes with Crohn's disease. I also know someone who's dealing with IBD and not IBS.
Irritable bowel syndrome.
Yes, versus irritable bowel disease, because IBS is not on the list, but maybe IBD is. So how do you tell the difference between the two?
Well, and more importantly, I think, is how did the people who made up the list of indications, how did they make the differentiation?
What did they come up with?
Yeah, well, why did they leave it off, or why did they include the other? They had to have a process, and we should be able to find it out. I believe I'm going to find somebody at the Coalition for Medical Marijuana, not me, because it's not what I do. We delegate somebody to ask and then file a Freedom of Information request.
I believe the thought.
We want to see the work.
Yeah, if you look, to me, it's like if you look at the way this program, the way the state's program has been, tweaked and moved around and so forth since its inception, then you have to ask yourself, like, the reason why I think a lot of conditions were left out was to minimize the number of participants in the program.
Yes, it was.
And so then you also change around the verbiage so that even if you are someone who suffers from any of these conditions, because of the verbiage, you don't realize that your condition is actually one of the things listed.
Mm-hmm.
So not only do we have to expand the state's medicinal marijuana program, but we also need to think about expanding the verbiage that's already on the books. So when you say intraskeletal spasticity, you don't realize that there's so many other things that go along with that qualify for that. You just say ISS, oh, I ain't got it, that's not me. And you don't realize that actually that is you because of the condition in which you are, working.
Don't mind me.
No. I know what you're doing. Yeah. I know what it is.
That is me.
Leah, we don't have the last week's intel capability.
No, we don't.
That was great. But yeah, I have.
Hey, listen. Why don't you
skeletal.
go by the Senate office and give us a call if you see Sweeney leave?
There you go.
I mean, I don't know what else. Well, not you. Can we find somebody to do that? Just stake it out. He's the guy in suspenders and a bow tie.
But Leo,
and he looks like a throwback politician from the 50s.
Where's his office at? Yeah, it's where is his office?
Annex? No, he when we were down before, we saw that Tom Kaine, as a minority leader, has an office. Yeah. So there must be a majority leader office as well. And Tom Kaine and Diane Allen. Philippe, you don't even have to be on mic now, but I want to remind you that when you got to talk to the minority leader, Senator Tom Kaine, that he said it would be fine to have a conversation in the future, which, right, he did say that. Now, he's the minority head in the office we went by, and I noticed Diane Allen is also there, as she's the second in line. She's like the second most powerful Republican senator, according to their hierarchy. Mm-hmm. And she's sharing an office with him, and she voted yes. She was the woman, Senator Diane Allen, who voted yes in committee after you testified. So you've, in effect, met or been in the proximity that both of those people in the office know who you are, and that he already promised you a meeting.
I remember that too.
Yeah, I say, see, now this isn't going to help get it posted, but as soon when it gets to the posted and it's going to get voted on,
that'll be a good time to talk.
Sure would like to have a meeting before that, and we might get a quick drive-by meeting. And actually, any time would be good, because if it doesn't get posted, we still need to meet with them. With the message that having the minority leader's support would be very good. It'd be good for veterans. It'd be good for the law. It'd be good for Republicans. It would be good for their entire party. So when we stutter step like this, we're looking around. You always got to watch for the governor, his detail, and now we got to watch for the head senator too. So. we're expanding our watch list.
Yeah. These military guys know, head on a swivel, head on a swivel.
Yeah, that's why I keep looking back and forth.
Hey, I'll tell you something. One of my oldest friends, and I still in contact with, is a Vietnam veteran, and he's a grunt. He was a small guy. He did some tunnel work, and he also walked point a lot. I don't know why. But he has pictures that I cannot believe you're even allowed to develop about what was going on. Everybody's taking pictures back then.
Right.
All over. And I was talking to him about it. And he says, well, I'll tell you, you get somebody like me now, I would not want to be doing. I'd rather be in the jungle than in an urban setting for combat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't know, you can't tell. You can't tell who the enemy is in an urban setting.
And I was not surprised when he explained it, but this is a guy who's seen and done things that, well, we just don't mention. He does to me, and he confides in me. Yeah, but I'm just saying that for him to say, no way would I fare well then. And, I'm thinking, well, jungle and scary and all, but he said, you know what I got in the jungle? I can see 360. There's not a wall right behind me. There's not somebody behind the wall. And when they're coming, you do have a chance of seeing them before they see you. And it makes sense,
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's still the whole element of surprise, because that's what guerrilla warfare is.
Yeah.
The difference you're pointing out the difference between guerrilla warfare and urban warfare, and that's not the first time that I've heard that before. Although I've also heard. I'd much rather deal with urban warfare than guerrilla warfare, depending on what your experience may be. But a battlefield is there's nothing glorious about a battlefield, no matter where you are. The thing is, though, is that what we had to contend with is the idea of having to deal with not being able to distinguish between the enemy and the civilian population, because they all look alike. They hide amongst them. They all, and so you how do you tell? And so and
there's no age limit. In other words, you got to be wary of somebody else's age.
There was
especially
kids
the
his
kids.
age.
Yeah, especially the kids.
His age.
Putting on vests.
Stand up.
AK-47s.
Yeah.
This right here.
It's a natural age in our
dangerous. Yeah. This is very dangerous. This what a lot of them look like.
Not you in particular.
Why?
I understand the conversation.
Because you would never think that a kid is trained to kill at that age, but it is in different countries.
And they're taught. They're taught to hate us. And here's the thing: it's not like we don't give them reason. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I get
it. It's on a. The challenges that we had to deal with on a day-to-day in terms of combat action and stuff like that. And then on top of that, cleaning up the bodies of this.
Yeah.
Having to put that
which is not an easy part to do either. Yeah. So after you shoot them, you got to clean it up afterwards too.
This ain't.
Wow.
Yeah.
Never thought of that.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, because that's stuff people need to know.
Yeah, you got to count that.
Yeah.
You got to count that.
It's sort of like, no, the PTSD wasn't from killing them; it was from cleaning them up.
Yeah, because this investigation, every killing that happens in the military, whether it's a warfare or whatever, there's always investigation.
Yep.
So therefore, part of the investigation is you got to leave the body at that, and when it's done, you got to clean it up afterwards.
You got to, the battalion or the rear D has to count that. And they have to know, exactly how it went down. You got to recount, and you got to recount the way that everything went down too.
Yeah, ammunition, everything.
This is today's USA Today.
2014 saw 20 veteran suicides a day.
I always look for something to bring to the podcast.
That's 2014.
No. The 22 a day was stated in 2010, and it was kind of more of an estimate. This doesn't mean it went down, and this 20 veteran suicides per day doesn't include risky behavior death, which is also due to post-traumatic stress.
Right.
2022, to me, same number.
Right.
It's not, we're making progress, we can slack off. The fact that it's 20 in 2014, they've been working on this for a long time to get this number to drop. And if they can't get it below 20, but you know, it's in today's paper. It's recent statistics, and it's going to be a lot easier to use those statistics than their recent.
That's redundant right there. VA works to prevent suicide. Nah, VA is not doing anything.
No. Well, here they're saying like he said that VA has taken several aggressive steps to deal with the high suicide rate, and then they say they include these are the steps. You're not going to hear the word cannabis. They include adding staff to the crisis hotline for veterans, identifying veterans at high risk, increasing mental health counselors, and expanding mental health therapy via telephone. And I'm thinking, okay, when do we get to the aggressive steps? No offense to them, I don't find that aggressive or not aggressive enough.
Remember what I told you? Remember when I told you?
It's in today's paper.
Yeah, but listen. Remember when I told you that we are the fact that they're talking publicly in this regard is a big deal in of itself
for the VA, and that just like when we got no further till I mentioned Philippe was a combat veteran, this story doesn't move until the VA says something about it. So when the Minister of Veterans Affairs says something,
listen, I agree with you in terms of how we are looking at what our definition of aggressive versus what their definition of aggressive is. But under the circumstances and who we talking about here, you got to give you have to give you have to give it some kind of special credence that the fact that they're talking about it, the fact that they're actually considering it, is a big deal in of itself. Now, here's where we come into play, because they at this point, folks like Lefty, you, myself, Philip, we're actually the SMEs, the subject matter experts in regards to them. And so what we have to do is we have to make it okay for them to pull us behind closed doors and have constructive conversations in this regard, because they need to be, because see, doing it all publicly, such as the way that we've been doing it, is not, hold on.
Yeah, you got to be seeing this otherwise, you know.
You like that, right? And that was my wife.
Yeah, he's delegating that his son LJ talks to his wife, who just had the birth of a child like 4 weeks ago. He's delegating. Let me read something to you though.
Sure.
We have a fresh statistic that I think puts it in context, and I don't think it needs to be with the 0.5s and all, but they say in 2014, which is nice because this is less than 2 years old, this information. This is fairly recent as far as 2014. Veterans accounted for 18% of all suicides in the USA, while making up 8.5% of the population. So they're 8.5% of the population. They should be committing suicide at a rate of 8.5% of veterans if it was going to be equal. They're not. It's double that. It's not 17, it's 18% of suicides are veterans. So basically the anomaly is they're committing suicide at twice the rate that they would be if they were civilians. Twice. It's not 10%
you're twice
more.
as likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, almost exactly twice as likely to do that, and that's according to the VA.
And that's going with 2014 numbers. We're not even
which is recent.
Yes. So we're not even talking about what's happening here in 2016. We're talking about two years ago, and at this point, you're still dragging your feet.
Yeah.
And it's because you're
And
not
the aggressive steps are not aggressive.
Yes, but in their mind, that's what it is.
So.
Yeah.
Well, aggressive compared to doing nothing.
You ever try to call the crisis hotline?
No.
Man,
Yes.
the very first thing they tell you in that
Yeah.
crisis hotline, if you're having thoughts of having suicide, call 911. What's the point of me calling the crisis hotline?
If it tell you to call 911.
Yeah, that's what they do. Yeah.
That's
Really?
exactly. And on top of that, and they have you on the phone until they could get somebody to talk to you. You know, one time I was on the phone for like almost an hour. You know what I could have done it myself in an hour?
Yeah. Several times
Oh,
over. You could have failed 5 or 6 times before being successful in an hour.
Listen to this. I called when I was trying to help my friend. I called the crisis hotline. You know what they told me? Hold on.
Hold on.
Yeah.
And then when I finally got the chance to talk to somebody and explain, they said, nothing we can do about it right now. Sorry.
And this is the help the veterans are getting. This is the help that we are getting as veterans in good old America.
Yeah.
In good old
I
New Jersey.
explained everything that happened. I explained what was going on. I explained how things were going down at this very moment. We're doing this right now at this time. Right now, this is happening. Right now. Sorry.
Yeah, there is no there is no wait. I mean, wait.
Who answered the phone?
Whoever the crisis hotline
Guy
person
that
was
took a
at that
break
time.
from sweeping
They
the
never
floors.
tell us who answers the phone.
What, an intern or something?
I don't know.
I have no idea. It's just somebody on the other line.
You know, there are other.
I know there's like a.
Wait, did they have an Indian accident?
No. I was looking for that, but
shouldn't they have a better crisis line than civilians have? There are civilian crisis lines if you know where to call, and I don't think they get or 911. Why should a 911 person be trained more for this than the VA's hotline? They should have the best of the best at talking to people and engaging them in a conversation. And it should be a veteran, for crying out loud. No, I mean, what if somebody answered the phone and said, I'm a veteran, I myself have tried to kill myself, I know where you're coming from. Wouldn't you rather talk to that? Than
Yes, I feel more
call the
comfortable,
phone, please.
My ex-wife, LJ's mom. One of the things, I will say, having been married to her for a number of years, that I picked up was the standard in which when you call these hotlines, she actually was a counselor for Action AIDS in Philly. So she would tell me about how, going through the whole thing of dealing when you get a call, what you have to say, what you have to do. Because I was always amazed at how well informed she was, particularly when it comes to HIV, AIDS, the whole 9 yards. And she could spit the statistic down. She could spit how
you
to.
paused too long after saying she could spit when you said that.
Yeah, she could spit it all out. She knew all the
acronyms.
She could. Yeah, she knew everything.
Yeah.
And so when I called, and she was very good at her job, very, very good. And so when I called the VA hotline that night trying to help my friend, I was expecting to get, somebody who was just as informed like my ex-wife.
Or better.
And or even better, and no, not at all. And so, again, like what this has done for me, that's not me. Okay. What this has done for me is it has shown me how far we need to go, or how, in terms of, yes, and how we treat and how we help and how we view folks. It's I didn't realize how bad off we were. Now, here's the other thing that I wasn't prepared for when you dealing with PTSD and the suicide rate, Lefty. For those who survive an attempt.
Sorry.
For those who actually survive a suicide attempt, do you know what the new thing you have to deal with? The shame of having failed. The shame, the embarrassment of not having gone through with the suicide, being saved. Because now they're going to have to deal with, okay, now for me, now I have to, not only do I have to worry about, you getting the proper treatment and everything, but now I got to worry about you making sure you got all your ducks in a row the next time you try, so that there is no coming back from this. Those are the things that, it's a snowball effect.
Is that what usually happens when there's one suicide attempt and the next one is usually worse and then the next one?
Yeah, and so like we're, I mean, listen, the fact that not everybody is grateful for having not everyone is grateful for not having gone through with it. That's a actual factual something that unless you are personally directly impacted by it or dealing with it, you wouldn't know. And it's something that this is definitely a life lesson that I am learning, that in particular when you're talking about veteran suicide and PTSD, and when you talk to when I talk to regular civilians, regular people and everything, and you say we're at 22 a day, the look of shock, like 22, this is what I hear. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad.
Every 80 minutes.
Yeah.
Every 80 minutes.
Yeah. People always say, I knew it was bad. I just didn't know it was that bad. 22 a day? And I go, yeah. Hey, 5 a week in New Jersey. And they go, what? Remember when I said there's certain lines that there are lines that most people just don't cross?
Shouldn't.
And because we all have our scruples and stuff like that. But when you break it down, when I break it down like that for a lot of people, and it doesn't, and I'm talking people from different spectrums from different sides of the spectrum here. The reaction is almost universal and all the time. I didn't know I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad.
Just I want to only interject because as I'm looking around, I'm thinking, okay, one time if we do see Senate President Stephen Sweeney actually coming out, I'll say hello, and he'll have my seat, and then I'll grab that microphone over there and take that seat real brief. But he should be sitting next to you though, not across. I think he's
he could be just standing right there.
I want to get him to sit down. Reed never sits down. I want somebody to take a seat.
Yeah, look comfortable.
Sit on a podcast, co-hosting for a little bit. He may just want to, which case you could hand him that microphone if he just wants to stand there. But I was going to plan for success. I'm tired of planning for failure.
Hey,
not that I do all that much, but even when we plan on something and give it our best effort, honestly enough, most of the time we know it's not going to work. Something else happened. I couldn't find the hard copy of it, and it wasn't from a pot research organization of some sort. We were talking earlier about it, I believe, not on the podcast though, that in states, it's been found this week, yesterday, in states where they have medical marijuana, not just talking about pain, but that they have it. Medicare Part D, what pays for prescriptions, the prescription payments went down in those states because they're not taking as many pharmaceuticals.
Yes.
In states that have medical
marijuana program. Yep.
So, and it's that.
So you can make the direct correlation.
And then they also said, not me, somebody who's supposed to, middle of the road. They also say in states where it's legal to differentiate between New Jersey and other states where it's legal to get it just generally for pain, that the drop in opiates is extreme, which is what we've already know that from the American Medical Association. But this is stuff that should be, when we know the sound bites, the bullet points to give on that, we're just getting more ammunition as each week.
Yeah, well, you remember when, Lefty, that day we were talking, and I said, you remember those old, I said my mom made me, when I was little, my mom used to make me watch a civil rights show called Eyes on the Prize. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I was saying, that was the first time I saw the whole, black people being hosed down and dogs and all that stuff. And they showed and I remember seeing the kids who were going to schools, and they had the folks out there who were screaming, nigga go home, da-da-da-da-da. And I said, imagine today being those people watching yourself as a child or a young person in the audience from back then, and realizing today that you were literally on the wrong side of history.
Yeah.
Okay. Today, in this regard, when it comes to the pushback, when it comes to the hesitation, the whole 9 yards, you're literally on the wrong side of history.
Yeah.
And 30 years from now, you're going to look back on this, and you're going to look at your opposition. You're going to look at the things that you say, and the history will show you were totally wrong.
Yeah,
you were completely wrong. And
now there's people who will regret it.
Yes,
and then there's people who will just try to sneak away from it. This is where I'm not a good Christian. This is where I'm taking names and numbers.
Yeah,
and I'll be kicking asses later.
Yeah.
I'm having my own damn Nuremberg trials after this. I'll hunt you down. I'll be 100-year-old man hunting a 90-year-old
let me
ass
ask you,
down.
Cody. Let me ask you this,
and making you
look at your age.
Deal with it.
Let me ask you this: at your age, imagine being the grandson of one of those people on those videos who was spitting and nigga this and all this other stuff.
I'd be totally embarrassed.
Exactly.
Totally embarrassed.
Exactly. And so what
and would
by
hope I
doing
don't, I don't get blamed for the sins of my elders.
Exactly. And see, so what folks are not realizing is the legacy of the legacy that you're leaving of your opposition and your slowness to action is a stain that's not just limited to you. It's limited to your forebears. It's also going to lay claim on your forebears who are not even here yet or are not of age to be able to understand the complexities of what was going on at this day and age. Because see, there's going to be a time 30 years from now where they're going to say, during that time frame, this is the way that they talked. This is the manner in which they did things. It's sort of kind of like when they talk about Bill Cosby and the Quaaludes thing. Here's the thing. Back in the 70s, when you was partying and stuff like that, Quaaludes was a regular thing. That was the thing that they
That's
did.
what I hear.
That was the thing that they did back then. So when fast forward today and you use the verbiage, it's like folks don't understand that, like you say Quaaludes like we say weed. Yeah, it's with the same connotation back then. So that was
you don't even know
he wasn't doing nothing that nobody else wasn't really doing.
You don't even know what a soaper is.
No,
it's the same family, but it's generational now. And what you're saying about being on the wrong side of history is so true. Yeah. And I think it's interesting that when a group who opposes it actually notices it, there's no mea culpa. They just stop. There's a group called the Family Research Council. They're players nationally out of Washington. They're teamed up with other groups. They were really integral in the original, if not still, surveys of high school drug use. And they were against medical marijuana in every way, shape, and form. And maybe 10 years ago, it just disappeared. It just, I would go to look up and say, how is it they phrased the gateway thing? And there was nothing. And I can't find out why they stopped. Now, I don't know if it was somebody making a joke statement or a rumor, but when somebody said that the DARE program removed marijuana as what they call one of their gateway drugs in their list, I wouldn't be surprised, but they would do it quietly. And I know we agree on one thing is we should not let them walk away quietly like they caused collateral damage that is still spilling over, in families where it caused unnecessary pain, heartache, and death in some cases. And not to mention the stereotype that people trust them and they say this, and it's just not true.
So again, like I told my son one day, and my little cousin, they are part of the most recorded generation in the history of the planet.
Yeah, get used to that.
Yeah, like so like for instance, I cannot go somewhere onto a computer and type in some words and up pops a video of my grandfather or my great-grandfather when he was 9 years old saying things. You understand what I'm saying? Doing things. Yeah. Now his great-great-grandchildren will be able to type in something, there will be some sort of median in the future where they can type in something and up will pop up everything that he's done from everything that was ever uploaded from 9 years old, 8, 7. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a horror story for most people.
Yeah.
Now,
Now,
I don't want to know that. I don't want to see what I said when I was young.
But see, that's the thing. I didn't say you.
Yeah.
I said your great.
Yeah. But if I were to be somebody's, I wouldn't want them to look me up, and I'm hoping they can.
Yeah, and then think about it. How can you hold them to a higher? How can you hold anyone, particularly your forebears, to a higher standard if you're not able? If they can pull up something that shows you conducting yourself in a less than honorable manner. Yeah. And so, thinking about all that stuff is why I had him with me when we were at this committee hearing. He has to, my son has to learn what it looks like when men talk to each other, conflict resolution, the whole 9 yards. And also, if this is going to, and recorded history that he was on the right side of history by way of his father. And Jim Miller, Ken Wolski, Edward Grimes. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't have any kids, so I don't have to worry about it.
No, I said him.
Yeah, no, I'm saying my grandkids don't have to worry about it because they won't be. There are none. Want to get a new
Brother
sit down here?
Ken Wolski.
Hello.
How you doing, brother?
Leo, I'm fine.
All right.
And as if anybody wouldn't know who Ken is, he was not only the co-founder of the coalition, but the CEO, heart, soul, and face of the organization. We wouldn't be here now if we're not for this man right there. We wouldn't. Simple as that.
Well, thank you, Jim.
Well, it's a fact, and thank you for being a fact.
But thank you to all the people who join the coalition and who work in support of our efforts to bring safe and effective medicine to everybody in the state of New Jersey who needs it.
Now, you may notice today I keep looking back, and I do that one.
Oh, you got to tell them.
Looking for the governor. Today it's dual purpose. It's lefty.
Ken, you might want to pay attention to this.
Senator,
some news for you.
Senator Sweeney's office on air, told him we're on a podcast, and it wasn't I can't help you. Explained what it was about, and then I told him that I was here, co-founder of the coalition, and it's coalition-sponsored podcast, and explained that we need S2345 to be posted before the summer recess, and why. And obviously, no matter who makes the case, it's easy to make a good case. Mm-hmm. So unlike what we would have expected, he asked the right questions, and then he goes, so you say where's the podcast? We're right out in front of the steps. You walk out the steps, you're there. And so we have it every Thursday. This is the 14th one this year. We did 33 last year.
This was the senator himself?
No, this was whoever,
the
one who answered it. Mm-hmm. And then he said, so how long are you going to be there? I'm going to ask him if he would come out and be on your podcast.
Oh, excellent.
So why would a staffer volunteer that, Ken? You see how you feel my logic is. Generally, you don't get that volunteered by any staffer. I mean, with any experience, you don't volunteer because either it's not going to happen or you wouldn't want to do it. But
well, he took the time to find out, to figure out who we were first.
And I'm thinking, if he knew anything about this, and he should if he's answering the phone, he would know where it is or isn't. And if he thought this was not going to happen, then he certainly wouldn't volunteer him to come out and give us bad news and then have to explain it.
Right.
So I'm thinking, because Philippe and me went, and I know you saw on Facebook that we did get to talk to
good job.
The general counsel to the Senate committee, that it was his task, he said, to call. I've got to call Senator Scutari because Senator Scutari should be the one asking it to be posted. And generally, if Scutari had asked for it to be posted, that we would have already had it posted. I understand there's a lot of other things going on, but when Frequan is his name, when he said, well, I want to call Senator Scutari and ask him to do this and see if there's a reason why he shouldn't. So we did reach somebody, and it's quite possible Senator Scutari may have made the call and the staffer might be privy to that information and think, well, this would be as good a place as any to make an announcement. You know, it would be wonderful. So if I keep looking over my shoulder, it's because I know that he would recognize me, because we talked about 10 weeks ago, and I did ask him on the podcast, and he did say, well, I'd love to, but we weren't set up then.
Right.
So we have the makings for a President of the Senate, Steve Sweeney, sighting, and hopefully he'd sit here for a minute and talk, and I take another microphone. He might want to just grab a mic and stand for a second. He may, best bet is it doesn't happen, not because it's blowing smoke at us, just because, you know, amazingly good things like that don't happen all the time. But we are in a pretty sweet position to get some good news today, and I would like it.
We have a microphone ready for him in case he goes.
Right. Yeah, that one's on.
Okay,
Everything's
that one's
on.
on. Okay, great.
I would like to think that he could want to take the center seat here, you know, give him my seat, and then I could grab that microphone, and you or Lefty, if whoever's sitting at that seat, can stay there.
Okay.
So that's why I'm looking around at the rate I am. You are the one I point to when somebody says, what's new, what's going on? Is there anything that happened since last week? And I don't, normally when I say that, wink, wink, nudge, nudge,
Right,
I know there is,
something to it,
setting
That's
up a T-ball. But this,
yeah.
I have, other than the fact that I read about the 2014 most up-to-date statistics for veteran suicide in today's USA Today.
Did you see that, Ken?
Yeah,
I didn't see the USA article, no.
No, this is the USA Today insert, and it's today's paper, top 20, it's all veteran. They have a hard statistic here now. It's not that it's any less than the 22. It's that the 22 was their best estimate. This is, they went back and they looked at it. They wanted a hard estimate, and that would be their best estimate.
The 22 estimate came from the Department of Veterans Affairs, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, this itself
that was posted on their website.
This is the VA giving the precise count.
Oh, okay.
So it's not 22, it's 20.
Yeah, well, that would, you know,
still,
again, but
you know, the study didn't take into account all the states, if I remember correctly.
That'd be good to know. And also, it doesn't take into account risky behavior brought about by post-traumatic stress that would contribute to your death as well.
No,
he didn't kill himself. He went off the road at 140.
Yeah, right.
You know, and it also gives us a statistic that I like, because it's a soundbite. In 2014, veterans accounted for 18% of all suicides in the U.S., but made up only 8.5% of the population. So if there wasn't an anomaly, it would have been 8.5%, because that's the percentage of the population. It's more than double that.
Yeah.
So it's 2 times, it's twice the rate that it would be if they weren't veterans.
Yeah, sure.
And and that veterans accounted for 22% of U.S. suicides in 2010, and 9.7% of the population. So what that means is, I don't know how they can only be 8.5% of the population now if they were 9.7% before, unless it's a lot are dying, especially World War II veterans at a regular rate.
Well, they do tend to die earlier than
point
people who are
is
non-veterans, I believe.
It's more, in both cases, more than twice as much what it should be. So that's according to the Veterans Affairs, Department of Veterans Affairs, and it's not from normal or a coalition study or Pot Incorporated. It's from the people who are most apt to want to downplay it. So I think these are recent statistics that, and if we cite them to somebody, and it's as simple as that it's twice, more than twice, and that's from them, not us, that it might be easier for people to confront the reality that it's way out of control.
Yeah.
So what else, though, is new? Anything going on this week that might not be up in front and center for us?
Well, you know, it's very important to cite these statistics and let people know, you know, where we stand with the problems that veterans face, but from a scientific and you know epidemiological perspective, but it's so important also to hear from the individual veterans. You know, like Leo, your testimony at the Senate Health Committee was just so powerful, along with the other two veterans who were with you. You know, that was really so compelling, that testimony.
And
You know, it was the individual people speaking, talking about the hardships that they face because of their, you know, veteran status, and you know, it just was so compelling, and I just want to really thank you so much for doing that, Leo.
Ken, it was definitely an honor, and let me tell you something. Before I even walked in, you know, I actually had an opportunity to speak with a state trooper, and he said what he said to me. Trust me when I tell you, I thought about it long after I was out of eyesight and earshot of him. And he said to me, he said, you know, they're not really going to do anything until it affects them personally. Until, like, one of their family members or somebody that they care for, you know, he said that's when you get that. He said that's when you're going to get the.
We find that to be true.
Yeah, and I was, you know, and I remember when he said it to me, I was just like, really? And he said, I'm telling you, he said they're not going to do anything until it affects them, one of them personally. He said it's a shame, and then he said, it's a shame that's the way they learn.
Well, it's the way everybody learns to a degree, though.
Yeah.
When it affects you, it becomes infinitely more important, no matter what it is.
But see, the thing is that what's dangerous in that way of thinking is that these are the people who make the laws.
Yeah.
These are the people who their whole purpose is to govern, to make things so that we're governed in a way that makes life prosperity in life a possibility. But because they're handicapped by the way in which they learn, is what this police officer is telling me. He said it's not going to he didn't have a whole lot of faith, even though he himself agrees with us.
Yeah, I agree, but when we think of it affecting them, we think, well, somebody in the family gets sick and they need it, and then it'll affect them. We also operate on the principle that if we can affect somebody negatively by their opinion being here and doing what we do on a consistent basis, if we can give somebody some PR damage, we're affecting them. We're affecting Chris Christie, how he walks in, where he walked up the ramp rather than go through the cones last time. You know, we affect his day a little bit every day. So it's not like somebody getting sick where it's urgent all at once, and that's what we're talking about, what always seems to work. And you know, we know people who are great advocates now, and or before they died, who were not great advocates before it affected them.
Well,
Lynn Nofziger, Ronald Reagan's guy, chief of staff when he was governor, helped write a lot of the laws that really led us down the wrong path, and in effect ensured cannabis would not be studied medically. He was great with that. And then he had, I believe it was a daughter, get leukemia. It was similar to Lester Grinspoon's story, but I believe it was also leukemia, and die. And then he realized it, and then he spent the rest of his life trying to undo what he did. So he had a big cross to bear because he was big time part of the problem. And then he found out. And I remember one time, it was, I don't say cute often, but it was cute, when Ken and I and Dom McGrath were at Princeton, and we were giving a talk in a dinner area, you know, to students. And one of them, we talked about this, and one of them said, so would you wish sickness on somebody to, you know, move this along? And Ken said, well, I would never do that. And at almost the same time, Don and me went, I would. You know, because,
well,
you know, but it was like Ken's answer was right. Of course, you should never wish something on, or otherwise I become as bad as them. So I'm saying he gave the correct answer, but me being more of a hothead and less of a filter than somebody.
Well,
you know, so it was the way they reacted too was almost like, whoa, that was strong.
But you know, there are a lot of ways to be affected too. You know, you can be personally affected because of some sickness or illness or a suicide in your family, or you can be or you can have your basic human compassion affected, by hearing a story, a very compelling story.
That is
that
exactly
someone
what
speaks about.
And that's why I played the recording, because when I thought about what the officer said, he said they're not going to move until it affects them personally. Well, I'm not related to any of these people, so I can't do that. But here's the closest thing that I can give you. I can put you as close to the realness of the situation and what we are dealing with by allowing you to hear an actual person who's dealt with this and who's on the other side now.
Oh, I knew that.
And when were you in the room when I was doing when I was playing the recording? And
yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, I came in just at the beginning of your testimony. You went first, and I came in just at the beginning of that.
So you could see, Kenan, I know you were paying attention. You could
Everybody
see
was paying
uncomfortable.
attention.
You could see how uncomfortable they were.
That's your job.
And hearing
to present that.
What that and it's look. You know what? Right here. Here it is. Let me see how you look. Let me see how you process what you're hearing. And then after I finish playing this, now I want you to look me in the face and tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Tell me that you hear something different than what I hear.
Yeah, I use that technique sometime. I don't remember, Ken, if you were there. I think you must have been, though. It was before a press conference. Montel Williams was here, and I went third. There was 4 people to talk at that press conference. He batted cleanup. And I was looking originally for a different picture of Cheryl, and I opened up a box with belongings in it, and I came across a tape recorder. I knew what it was right away, and I really didn't want to play it, but I realized I got something powerful here. Some years before, obviously before she died, when I had to get Cheryl changed, which is my task, and when I rolled her on her left side, it would hurt her shoulder so bad she'd cry out in pain. And she didn't cry out in pain a lot, which made it so hard on me to do that, because I couldn't, but I had to, but I couldn't, but I had to. So we didn't have any butter. I would rub butter on her shoulder, and that would work. So what happened was I cried out in exasperation, why am I the only one that has to hear you cry out in pain? I'm not the one that needs to hear it. And in her simplistic wisdom, she said, well, she didn't point. She pointed with her chin. She said, "When you record it, I had a personal tape recorder, a little one, for just keep it in my pocket, keep my thoughts together." So I put it on, and I recorded, and I never listened to it. And it was 2.5 years before, as I remember. And I listened to it, and basically, you could hear her going, "Oh, oh, oh, oh." It was a wounded sound. It was a scared pain, and you could hear me going, quick as I can, almost done, quick as I can, and you could feel it. So the
sense of urgency to hurry up and get this task done.
So it was loud, and I listened to it several times so I wouldn't react myself when I played it. And I told them that Cheryl, even though she's gone here now in her own voice, she can explain to you that unlike what other people say, there were not acceptable alternatives. There were not. And I think she can tell you better than me. This was and I explained that. Right? Oh, I explained it, and then I took it out of my pocket and hit the button, and they didn't know they were about to hear it.
A first-hand account.
Yeah.
And when you're
cameraman started spouting tears.
And again,
it was riveting.
And that's what I think what helped drive home
an
the
emotional
point.
experience.
Right.
Yeah. We offer that.
Yeah, it really does appeal to the basic human compassion, like I said. So, but the big thing that came out over the past week, of course, was the Department of Health announced that they would accept the petitions to add qualifying conditions for the medicinal marijuana program. Yeah, you did talk about that.
No, but we touched on it.
Yeah, so
reiterate for sure.
Well, the petitions are now online. They're at the Department of Health website under news and announcements for July 5th, 2016, and there's both an announcement that talks about the petition, and there's a form that you can download, the petition that you can download, and the department will accept.
How onerous are the conditions that they set out?
It demands a lot of work. It demands some scientific evidence. and whatnot. But first, before I get into that, the Department of Health will only accept these petitions between August the 1st and August 31st, and they must be sent by certified mail. Now, anyone can submit a petition to the Department of Health to add a qualifying condition to the medicinal marijuana program to the list of conditions right now that qualify for marijuana therapy in New Jersey. So, you know,
do we have an indication that in multiple petitions that they could in fact possibly accept the one that's the most complete? In other words, if somebody said, well, I didn't fill out 6, 7, and 9 because I didn't have anybody, no, that's not enough. But what if the next one for the same condition is better? Do you think it might be true that they could go with the best, or are they going to go with the worst?
Well, we don't really know. We don't know how the panel that is empowered to review these petitions and make a recommendation to the Commissioner of the Department of Health is going to act. You know, we don't know what criteria they're going to use to make their decision. We do know that
we just know the format.
We know the format, and we know that they will not. They have to be specific on these conditions. So they will not accept broad categories such as quote mental illness. So, you know, one of the petitions that
that makes sense. I don't disagree.
But you know, a broad category can also be chronic pain. Now, that's a petition that I intend to submit. And I'm working on that petition now. Chronic pain was one of the original conditions in the Compassionate Use Medical Marijuana Act. And that version of the law was passed in February of 2009 by the entire New Jersey Senate. It was only amended by the Assembly later in 2009, in June of 2009, and chronic pain was taken out except in the cases of HIV, AIDS, and cancer. So, you know, whether or not they will consider that a too broad a category, we don't know. We're covering our bases in a way by saying, you know, other people are going to submit petitions that include neuropathic pain and different types of pain.
Let me ask you this then, because your intuition is way better than mine, probably because it has a broader base of information than I have. But right now, pain from MS, isn't it? It's just having the MS itself.
Right. You don't need. All you need is a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis.
But what if glaucoma caused pain? Well, glaucoma again. Yeah, you know what? They're in a good position to.
There's IBD, but not IBS. And
right. Well, that would be something that would be more specific, and they would probably welcome a petition for that.
Right.
Right.
They also, and as you've been quick to point out other times, the health department is under no obligation to accept the recommendations, and they have no obligation to explain why they don't if they don't.
Right. Now, you know, we also intend to submit a petition to add post-traumatic stress disorder as a qualifying condition, and so, you know, we're going along with this regulatory approach to also add PTSD for marijuana therapy in New Jersey. But this does not diminish our legislative appeal, because you know, the legislation could be done within weeks. You know, it could be done. It could be on the governor's desk. The governor has said he said he would sign it to one of our members. So you know, the legislative approach would certainly be quicker. Now, this regulatory approach is going to take a minimum of 10 months before any new conditions are added.
Right. Yeah.
And
That's on the bright side.
Yeah. Right. Probably closer to a year. I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
This is Plan B.
Yeah. This is the same health department that didn't have their first yearly report till 2.5 years after they were supposed to by law. So
the medicinal marijuana program really has been characterized by a series of delays and obstructions into the legislative intent of the implementation of the Compassionate Use Medical Marijuana Act.
Yeah. Well, the sad part is that, you know, again, you look at how what gave this legs. What needed to happen before this got the momentum that it got? Death. You know, it was.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
I know,
Phil. Your shirt really has quite a look to it.
Step up to the camera, man. Step over here.
Come stand over here for a second. Come stand over here. I was always wondering what that might look like. there's a certain number of people that love it, and I keep thinking, might not look right on you. I love the way it looks. It's sort of like, it's way more appropriate and funny than I would have thought. You know, you might meet somebody, stupid enough that would honor that and go, oh, okay, I didn't notice.
In light of everything, especially last night and last couple of days, hey, let's hopefully that works. Because
they'd be selling a lot of shirts.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man, look, you got a guy who told the cops he was carrying, and then he was licensed, and then he still got shot. So maybe if we wear a shirt.
So and there may be people who are not watching but listening, and just so you see why we're laughing, Caucasian Lefty Grimes has a shirt that in big white letters on a black shirt says "Don't shoot me, I'm white." So now Phil Dumais, a man of distinction and a man of color, is wearing "Don't shoot, I'm white," and it looks. I'm just saying, it looks like, hey, give it a shot. It might help you out one day.
Yeah, man.
It's a good look. And
check this out. We're gonna have a moment here, please.
Yeah,
brother, I understand. I'm with you.
and to those of you who aren't watching, go to your computer. I'm tired of explaining why we're having so much fun right now. You gotta kind of see it. Save me the work, would you?
Excuse me, y'all.
Oh, wow.
Hey, man, I'm willing to try anything these days. but
that's good.
Again, I'm trimming at Breakwater Alternative Treatment Center now, Ken.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And one of the good things about it is I was explaining to Jim that it exposes me to folks who are actual patients, and I get to speak with them and talk and get a little more of a personal understanding of what it's like to deal with the different conditions that they have to deal with. Some with Crohn's disease, and so we talked about the review panel putting out the call to find out what else should be added and whatnot. And one of the things that came up was menstrual cramps, because for some women it's debilitating.
Sure.
And
it's debilitating for the men around them as well.
Yeah, well, I'm not even going to touch that.
I'm just going to say they're concerned.
It's true. It's true.
It is true.
People, it's a very difficult time in a woman's life.
Yeah.
Ruled by
and with a
emotional swings.
celebrity sponsor like Whoopi Goldberg making that an issue.
And the thing is that one of the things that I try to be very conscious of is that when
we recognize you, Ed, the hat doesn't fool
Ed
us.
Hahnemann, board member of CMMNJ, walking by past the State House, waving.
One of the things that I am very conscious of and careful of, and speaking of women's issues, is that I'm also very conscious of the fact that when we have these talks about women's issues, that women be a part of the conversation.
Sure. First and foremost.
Hello, it doesn't even, I'm a guy, so what I look like talking about women's issues, and I don't even make a woman a part of the conversation. And then you wonder why females have an issue with not being paid and being in a room, not being heard and being felt. I mean, even when you're talking about the things that women have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and we're so cavalier in that type of conversation to not include women in the conversation.
Well,
really?
I would think there's going to be somebody filling out a petition for that within the month of August. And there should be.
I'm sure of it.
And this is what we do. We
there's
look for
legislation right now. Reed Gusiore introduced legislation. I believe it was Reed to allow marijuana therapy for premenstrual syndrome.
Right. Yeah.
So, it's recognized as a potentially debilitating, condition that is relieved by, historically, it's been relieved by marijuana therapy.
There, something that maybe, I don't know if we can find out much about it or not, because we're not really in the loop, and it might take a Freedom of Information request, but why is the panel going to hold people filing petitions to have an indication added, why are they going to be held to a higher standard than everybody else who's in the program now? The reason I say that is if they want a certain amount of clinical tests and are of the kind that have been prohibited by roadblocks that work from the federal government, that if they're going to be saying, well, we want to see a gold standard, double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical crossover test.
Well, they didn't say all that. They said that the actual wording is
what tests were used for MS to be in there? In other words, the legislators, what did the
What was your
legislators look at? And they should, I think that's the standard that was set, and whether it was by them or not, I don't think they should exceed that standard by too much, because that's one step away from turning around and going, now we want to take you out of the program because not like they would do that. But, they can't have two sets of standards, one for the original patients, and that was so severe that it limited it to 7,000 people or something now?
Well, we had 5 years in which to convince the legislature to endorse medical marijuana for these conditions. And, we took our best shot. We gave our best evidence, the best scientific evidence we could to all the legislators during the committee hearings. So, it's not like they were not, apprised of the latest science.
Exactly.
But during that legislative process.
What we gave them, we shouldn't need significantly more than that to give the panel.
No,
because that's where I find the double standard, and I find that unacceptable. They should acknowledge that, though.
Well, you're not going to be told. You're not going to get the information on what information they use to make the decisions that they use to make the decisions, and also you're not going to get the full story as to what's the behind the scenes, the innuendos, the alternative, the alternative plan in regards to what they truly see, how they truly view the state's medicinal marijuana program, because there are other things that are involved here that have helped to retard this process.
Yeah.
And so, again, this is why I said at this point, it is time for us, because as far as this body is concerned, we are the subject matter experts in this. And so now it's time for it's time for them to invite us, because we do come in peace. We're actually we're allies in this. You just don't realize it, and you're fighting us. So now it's time for you to invite us into your office, so we can have closed door, constructive and meaningful conversations.
That'd be a first.
To get to how we're going to move forward as a state. Because see, here's the thing, I am so beyond Governor Christie in terms of my way of thinking and how I'm planning. I am planning for after he's gone.
A lot of people are, but you're not stopping what you're doing now in waiting. My problem is with people who don't do anything because they're going to wait till somebody will be more reactive to them. But the groundwork does need to be done. On the current really clock-ticking plate is the month of August, though. This is, we're going to have to devote a significant, the August, the recess that the panel is going to make their, get ready to make the recommendations. And, this is where if we need to really be a coalition.
The panel's not going to make the recommendations in August. The panel's going.
No, they're going to make it down the road.
Well,
6 months.
They'll be accepting.
No, 60 days after August 31st. They will evaluate all the petitions that come in during the month of August, and then they will
still be here
within 60 days after August 31st, which will be September, October, end of October. It's so it's that'll be the 2 months after August 31st.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then there'll be a 60-day public comment period after that 60-day period expires.
Really?
And then, depending on the public comment period, there may be another public comment period. There may be other delays built into it. But after,
will they have an open meeting for public comment?
Yes,
you think?
yes. As a matter of fact, anyone who files a petition is welcome to come into the open meeting and defend their petition as well.
That
So,
would be then within that would be within the 60-day period afterwards.
Yes.
Somewhere. It would,
yes.
Otherwise, it
Yeah,
wouldn't.
during
wouldn't
the
help.
60-day
Yeah.
public comment period. Yes.
Well, then
So,
this
you know,
is this is.
They might be biting off more than they can chew with
Yeah.
that.
Well, first of all, we can spend time making sure that people who are taking part in filing understand how important it will be for them to come down to the public meeting, because I would like to see a line of petitioners
Yeah, I'd like
explaining.
I'd like to see 1,000 people show up.
Mm.
That's what I'd like
And
to see.
This is, we should really be able to put pressure on to do that. If we've
Yeah.
ever had one big effort coalescing, this is going to be it.
And you know what else I'd like to see happen? I wasn't here the last time, and this is more for Ken than it is you, Jim. I think it's time we restart your efforts here on the local level again, in terms of introducing legislation to decriminalize, just here within the city of Trenton. I think it's time to start that conversation up again, particularly.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, Ken, and I know you've got, you're being pulled in multiple directions, and I get that, but I'm here, and so.
The dialogues that you begin with the councilman and the mayor of Trenton.
And I've actually had some, yeah.
Those are so important.
Yeah.
Because it really humanizes the situation, and it gives them the time to talk, to think about it, and talk about it in a non-threatening way.
And I did. Marge Wilson Caldwell lives a few doors down from me. I've already, and I've spoken. You've seen, we had Alex Buffet out here one day.
Right.
And so. The idea, and again, when looking at the how do I say, when looking at the climate of today, of the day, and all that has been happening and all that has happened, the conditions are favorable to restart that, to again restart this. What you tried to do, because you came across some pretty significant opposition in terms of not even being heard, not even being considered.
Right.
Now, with all that we have,
it was the identical petition that was unanimously adopted in Asbury Park, that they wouldn't even take a vote on here in Trenton.
Yeah.
To decriminalize marijuana. It wasn't even to decriminalize it. It was to support the concept of legalization.
It was just a resolution.
It was a resolution. That all it would say is, we recognize that the harms that are being done to our community here in Trenton, the inner city community of Trenton, by prohibiting marijuana and by arresting so many people for minor possession, and the benefits that could come from legalizing and taxing and regulating it, keeping it away from children, and in stopping the disproportionate impact on minorities of arrests. Blacks are arrested 3 times greater than whites are arrested for marijuana possession, despite similar
we do the same amount. We do it the same way.
The same usage.
And that's overall. In some age groups, it's 6 times.
Right. So many of these problems could be overcome. By endorsing legalization and asking the governor to do it, because Trenton can't do it by itself.
Correct.
No city can do it by itself, but you can resolve to support that effort with the legislature and with Governor Christie. And so that's all we're asking them to do.
Yeah, and see, for me, that's what I want, because it puts us basically in lockstep with the state, so that when things turn over, and it is my belief and my faith that it will turn over, because it's coming. The one thing I don't want is, I don't want, from a local standpoint, I don't want Trenton being the last to try to get started on this. I want Trenton to lead the way in terms of preparing, having the different, because again, we need industry, not just in the state, but in the city.
Right.
And when you look at the density in terms of, the population here, we probably got somewhere over 20 to 25,000 undocumented, citizens that live here. And when you look at on a local level, all that we are contending with as far as not having, money and the whole 9 yards, that we have an opioid issue here. It's now time for, like I said, meaningful, constructive conversation to begin in this regard, because right now there's no other. What I don't see is, I told you before, I'm just coming back, and look, based on all the other ideas that have been tried, nothing has seemed to, in my opinion, made a lasting impression or impact in terms of the numbers of people and dealing with the issues that we're dealing with, particularly when it comes to, police, and citizen. And mind you, I in my research, I found out that half the police department was laid off a couple of years ago.
Well, a third of them anyway. Yeah, 100.
Yeah, a third. Yeah,
300 people.
Yeah. So, and yet they still have the same load in terms of what all they're dealing with.
Yeah, sure.
And so, okay, let's lighten the. I mean, all right, if you're going to lighten the number of personnel we have, let's also lighten the load in terms of things that the police have to deal with, particularly when particularly when it comes to the fact that there's one issue here that we actually can use to bring revenue into the city. And before we can do that, like you said, Trenton can't do it alone, but we need to get ourselves positioned as a community so that when the state makes its decisions and does things, we're already at least half a step on board rather than being so behind. And
not fighting it.
Yeah.
Even with needle exchange programs, for example, there have been pilot programs of needle exchange programs in like 5 cities in New Jersey, but so far Trenton has never had one. And here it is, reducing the rate of HIV infection among an IV drug using population. Not only among an IV drug using population, but among their lovers, their significant others, and their children. And yet it's such an effective program, and all the cities where it's working, they speak so highly of it, and yet Trenton has no such program.
How could you? Because I say to myself, how could you hear this, and it just go over your head that maybe you ought to have it? And again, to me, that's a misstep, a miscue, or whatever that says to me not good enough for the capital city of New Jersey. You understand what I'm saying? The whole being evolved enough in your way of thinking that these ideas ought to produce some sort of action on your part. Listen, regardless of your politics, at least this should warrant some sort of investigation, whether it be in private or not. Investigate the things that we are saying, investigate the possibilities, and after you really, because see, my thinking is that there's no way you can look this stuff up and then say, no, I don't want it, when we need the kind of money that we need. You have those who are in position of power making really bad decisions, and you see it time and time again. The pension fund, look at the educational fund, look at what's happening with Christie, Governor Christie's whole equals pay for students. He's like, we're being set up for a war between the suburbs and the cities, and it's like and again, it all kind of contributes to this climate of today from a political standpoint, from a social standpoint, from a socioeconomic standpoint. There are things that the conditions are being manipulated for something to go down that we don't want to happen. And the fix, I'm not saying it's an easy fix or anything like that, but it's an idea. It's one with credibility. And again, look at California, look at Colorado. The revenue that they're bringing in, we could, especially in light of everything that has happened recently. It's just one step after another, and it's like, oh man, when is common sense going to take place? And then you wonder why people are mad. Then you wonder why people are disenfranchised with the process. We're not making updated decisions, and folks are not doing it. And it seems to me, especially since I've been back in the state of New Jersey, it seems to me that folks are comfortable with this. They are truly, comfortable with this manner of oxymoronic politics?
Well, it's what we're used to. It's the status quo. So it's how the system works. It's the political machines in action. That these decisions are not based on epidemiological principles of infection control throughout communities. These principles are based on political considerations and who's paying. Who is paying to keep people in office. I mean, you look at the financial interests that are opposed to marijuana reform, and you see the pharmaceutical industry, you see the alcohol industry, you see the prison industrial complex. These are huge industries with a great deal of money, and they support the re-election of people who tend to give them credence and their positions credence. And you also have the federal government, Leo. The federal government has been exaggerating the dangers of marijuana, and they've been denying the benefits of marijuana to this day.
While owning the patent to CBD.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of things to overcome. But, one of the things is that making the greater availability of marijuana through medical programs and expanding medical programs, the impact is starting to really begin to be felt. Like just today, in today's Times of Trenton, an article by Susan Livio said that pot is easing prescribed drug use, study says. And there was a big study that the demand for prescription drugs to treat pain, nausea, and debilitating illnesses significantly fell from 2010 to 2013 among Medicare patients in states where medical marijuana is legal. They saved $515 million over a 4-year period just by the availability of having medical marijuana. And that's just in prescription drugs, Leo.
That's like 126, 27 million a year.
Yeah, right. Just in Medicare alone, and not to mention out-of-pocket costs. So, but these benefits are just beginning to be felt, and they're just beginning to be documented now. But I have heard so many people tell me that they have avoided surgeries because they didn't have to take parts of their intestines out because they finally found that marijuana was something that controlled their Crohn's disease. They avoided so many hospitalizations. When you avoid hospitalizations, when you avoid surgical procedures, and when you avoid expensive and dangerous pharmaceuticals by the use of marijuana, you are promoting public health. You are not only promoting public health, you are saving people money, you are saving lives, you are saving a tremendous amount of pain and suffering.
And mind you, we are talking about just in states who have a medicinal marijuana program.
Right.
So when you look at again, another idea that's maddening is when I look at Ohio and I look at Pennsylvania and I look at their states, their list. Pennsylvania is younger than us in this regard, but their list is expansive.
Well, they include post-traumatic stress disorder and chronic pain, which is a very good thing. That's two things that New Jersey doesn't.
Yeah, and but what they also did was, although they're younger, they also, by doing it the way that they're doing it, they literally have put us behind the 8 ball in terms of getting ourselves positioned to be able to, take advantage of, the possibility of revenue from this. They even have a college now, Ken.
What?
Yeah, you can go to college to learn the business and learn how to do it in Pennsylvania.
In PA?
Yes, yeah.
Well, they've had Oaksterdam University in Oakland, California for a long time.
Yeah, there's another one that I just saw the advertisement for it, and I was just like, in Pennsylvania, really?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of programs now that are starting up. In fact, I'll be taking part in. There's one up in Bayonne Medical Center that I'll be giving a talk about medical marijuana and the endocannabinoid system and New Jersey's medicinal marijuana program. And then and the American Cannabis Nurses Association is going to be giving a talk in Carbon County, Lehigh Carbon County Community College up in Pennsylvania, up in the Poconos. In September or October. There's some debate about the date, but anyway, these programs are beginning to be felt. Hello.
And the thing is now with, that's why I said, now that I'm home, I'm here now, Jim. From a local standpoint, I feel like, we need to reopen the conversation that you tried to get started.
Because thank you, Leo. I think that it is time to do that.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I do believe that with our work, the work that we've done so far, and it grabbing momentum on the state level, it should. I feel like you and I and Lefty, they know who Lefty is in the city council. But the thing is that we walk in with a little bit more credibility than what you had the last go around. And again, appealing to their sense and in terms of, look, we need to do this because this is, the state is positioning itself, and we need to be lockstep with them.
Good. Well, who do we have here, Lefty?
Scott. I want to introduce our guest, Scott Vasilic from.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hey, Scott.
Hi, Scott.
He's our patient from Sparta.
Haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah, haven't been down in a little bit. I just wanted to actually share a little bit of updates on my personal story.
Okay.
Several years back, I had like an incident where I'm a card holder. There was like a dispute at my house and whatnot. And I had a lot of people down here help me with my case and showing up at court for me in solidarity. And finally, after about 3 years, I found a lawyer who's willing to pursue a case for malicious prosecution against the department because I'm a medical patient. It took me several years to find the right attorney because everyone said they might be able to pursue a civil rights case, but they didn't want to use the medical marijuana basis for the argument. But this particular someone that I had found is going to pursue it, the fact that I'm a patient, I shouldn't have been prosecuted, and thus it was malicious. So it's exciting. It's a culmination of like multiple years of effort on a lot of people's behalf. So figured I'd come down and share the story since I was down this
Congratulations,
way today.
man.
Yeah,
It's good news, man.
That's great.
Congratulations.
We certainly wish you a lot of luck on that.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
So tell us more. Do you know when this is going to start? Have any documents been filed with the court yet? You're going after Sparta PD specifically?
Yeah, the only people named in the suit are the Sparta Police Department and the specific officers that were involved in entering the house improperly that day.
Yeah.
But I think within the I filed a tort notice, several years ago, so the suit's ready to, the claim's ready to be filed. I think this should be done within the next month. And I know there's a gentleman who keeps like a civil settlements nonprofit website where he'll kind of tell you different suits that are active in different towns. I think his name's John Paff. And so he might post something about it, but I might have to keep quiet about it until the case resolves at a certain point. But it's just exciting to know that patients have recourse if they are tampered with in some way that isn't legal.
Sparta has your bongs still and pipes, right?
Yeah, they do. They have all of my housewares.
Yeah, that's so. I've heard stories about this like this frequently in the past, all too frequently in New Jersey. Where someone is a victim of a crime, they call the police. I've had a home invasion or whatever, assault in your case. You're a victim of a crime. You call the police. You expect them to, go after the criminal, and they come in and they see some evidence that marijuana is being used by the victim of the crime, and suddenly the whole thing becomes about the marijuana.
Yeah. Forget the crime.
Forget the crime.
You're the actual you're the perp.
Yeah, it switched. The narrative switched that quickly. As soon as the wounds were patched up with a bandage, the narrative switched. Even that day.
You must have went. What?
Yeah. Ken was one of the first people I called. I have to say it was a rather frantic call, but everybody kind of led me in the right direction. And honestly, with everybody's support here is the only reason I'm able to pursue something and give me the information and the resources I need to do so. But I think I don't think it'll set a legal precedent. I did win my appeal on the same basis, but at the very least, it gives patients the idea that they have like a recourse if they're tampered with by the police. They shouldn't be, and at least this might be a little disincentive for them to do it in the future.
I know your mind had to be.
Well, it may well set a precedent. I mean, it may certainly give police pause before they ignore the crime victim and focus on some extraneous circumstance.
And the CUMA law, actually, one thing that really does help patients is the fact that if there is an encounter like this, the patient has to assert their affirmative defense, right off the bat. Right. But in my instance, if you're not there, I was on my way to the hospital. You still have I still had a house that they were working with. In my case, these things have to be documented in the police
Right.
report, and that's what it really comes down to. That's where people get their protection, because if let's say somebody was tampered with and it's not documented like that, then they can have the same recourse I have to
Right,
maybe
right.
File a case or
Right.
something.
And in your case, it was documented.
They never documented that I was a card holder, and they just continued to prosecute me and kind of just ignored it. So that's where I end up getting the ability to, press for malicious prosecution.
Right. Because you've been screaming this.
Yeah. It was
from day one, literally.
Yeah. And luckily, I was able to gain some public opinion and attention, because it kind of helped the narrative that I'm a victim of a crime and put things in perspective. So. But yeah, wanted to share that with you guys.
Oh, thanks so much for sharing, Scott.
Yeah, man, congratulations. Good job. Thank you. Sorry that happened to you.
Good luck, man. Good to see you. You're welcome. Get out of here before it starts raining.
Yeah, Scott was one of the first videos I ever made, helping patients.
How's Jesse doing? I see Jesse's here.
Jesse.
Jesse's around.
Jesse's
Jesse Sanders is here, and but we have to actually. We're gonna be ending the show in a minute.
Oh, okay.
If we can get Jesse over here, that'd be
Jesse.
great. Hey, Jesse.
A quick wrap up of Jesse. Jesse's due back in court on Tuesday, I understand. Jesse Sanders, for what seemed to me to be a clear case of again malicious prosecution.
Yeah. Another patient.
Another patient is being given written up tickets for they went searching for a ticket for you. And the whole thing was captured on video, where the police were admitting that it was because that you went to an INE tour and you smoked marijuana at the police station, or you asked them where they could smoke it.
Yes, sir.
So this is, and you have another court date coming up Tuesday?
I have the court date. It's trial. All I did was go to the court. I didn't realize it wasn't going to be with the jury. It's just me and the judge. But I had to stand, put my hands up, and say guilty, not guilty. I said not guilty, and they said lawyer, public defender, represent yourself. I said I'm going to represent myself, because even if you have the public defender, you had to pay $250 that day. Why am I paying $250 for something I didn't do? So I figure if I go in there and I have my video and I'm going to explain to him, Your Honor, I'm going to apologize. I'm not an attorney. I didn't go to law school, but I am a citizen of this country, and I am allowed to represent myself, so I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. I might not know all the statutes. I might not know all the laws. I might not know the right verbiage to use, but what I do have is the knowledge in front of me, which is the video of what did actually happen.
Right.
And what I do, this is my plan, Ken, please help me, because I need to be helped with this. I'm going to tell him that, Your Honor, we do a tour. It's called the Ignorance is No Excuse Tour.
You're going to explain that to him.
And I'm going to let him know my father's a fallen officer. He got killed in Chicago when gang crimes was at its height. So we feel that, with what's going on in the public eye, the last thing that they need to be worried about, or the tax dollars needs to be going towards, are medical marijuana patients being harassed, or for the fact that the police officers just don't have anyone out there doing what we're doing. So we're simply patients, most of us that are critically ill. And on the way here, Ken, I'd like to give a shout out to Ed Falsey, my friend Frog. He passed away, I just found on the way up here. And I don't know why yet, but he was a victim of Agent Orange. And he, anyway, was a very big supporter of medical marijuana and couldn't get it in his state in Pennsylvania.
And you really have to stay focused on when you're addressing the judge.
But I was just letting you know that right now, because I just found that out. That's why I'm so shaking. But when I'm telling the judge, I'm going to let him know that what we do is we go to these police stations and we hand him the Kuma laws. And I'm going to have a copy of the Kuma laws there for him and say, Your Honor, it's an unfortunate thing that we go to, out of 100% of the police stations, at least 85% of the officers at the reception center that are officers say that marijuana is not even legal. And if you'd like to see that, we have a whole Ignorance is No Excuse Tour channel on YouTube. Here's the reference number. I'm going to print it out for them for a document, because don't you have to have evidence into whatever. And then I'm also going to have the video there. And then
No, the video is kind of long. How long is the video? Do you know?
the video's like 16 minutes, 18 minutes.
18 minutes.
18 minutes.
Mostly of you. Well,
Cindy.
you yelling.
You know what?
And I just had Cindy come into my life yesterday, believe it or not.
Really?
Make sure you annotate at what point in the time, like on a timestamp, when, like, the things that you want highlighted.
Yeah,
like,
I wrote all that down, but the thing is,
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't want to
important.
cut the video because I didn't want the judge
Right.
to think that I altered it
Right.
or messed with it in any way. And I wanted to let him know, Your Honor, you're more than welcome to watch it all to see what we do in the front. You're more than welcome just to see the part that went down where the officer said I broke the law.
Right.
But as you see, I take my seatbelt off. I am disabled to the point where I don't have to wear my seatbelt by law. I have a letter from my doctor I'm going to take with me that I don't have to present to prove my breakdownness, but I will.
Right.
I'm going to present my card, and I'm going to show him how I did all the sobriety tests. I stood next to the officers with my hands in my pocket and had a casual conversation with them for minutes while Lefty was then approached by not one, not two, it was two at first that were very supportive of the program by the video and what they said. And then by the end of the video, another officer, now we have 3 officers on the side of my car, and I don't know how many cars at this point, and then we have 3 off. Bye, honey. Bye, sweetheart. Have fun at basketball camp. And
Okay. So now,
So 6 officers on us, like a SWAT team.
Yeah. Now, do you plan to have any witnesses for?
Well,
on
I
your
would like
defense,
to, but no one's coming through. Everybody says they don't want their name on anything. The only one I have is Lefty.
Well, Lefty's important.
I'm very, and if he's able to make it, but he has something he
Tuesday,
can't do.
I'll be with Ken.
Yeah, that's the
So I have
baby.
nobody.
We can't get out of that one. I already owe you for
Would
2.
you do a video message and then I could present that?
I'll do
in
whatever you
court?
want. Sure.
Or maybe could I call you and be live video? We could do a live interview.
Absolutely.
And we'll do
What time is the court?
Well, oh my goodness, I was there last time from 8 o'clock, and I was supposed to be in the morning session. I didn't get out of there until 5:30, and they didn't even have my file. They couldn't even find it. This is after they postponed it like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And then when I went there, my sugar was low. I was dropping. I finally looked at the bailiff. I'm the only one sitting in there. I'm like, can you please tell them that, like, I'm about to go into a sugar bounce. I got to do something here. And then the judge was like, you've been sitting here all day. And he was a great judge. He was, I mean, honestly, I learned a lot from him that day. So I'm excited to go in there, you know, and what's the worst that could happen? I fail. I'm still going to be convicted of the same crap they're telling me I did. And he says in the video, per what he says, because I've watched it so many times, he says, you're not just allowed to, when I question him, and I said, man, I'm disabled. You know how this is, I got a little upset. I said, this is going to set me back here. And I said, I don't even have a ticket. I said, I'm on a fixed income. This is going to set me back. He's like, you'd be glad I could have wrote you for many other things. I could have wrote you for 3 other things. He doesn't mention those things. And then he says, you're not just allowed to back up at a gas station like that. And I'm going to say, Your Honor, I thought that it'd be safer on private property where I was given permission to park. It's safer for me with no one behind me to back up and to go get gas since I have an hour and a half drive ahead of me one way, rather than pull into oncoming traffic, make a U-turn back into the business I'm already at. When did that become a law I was breaking?
Yeah. Well, I think you have a very strong case, and I certainly wish you a lot of luck in that, Jesse. On
Thank you,
Tuesday.
since no one else is going to be there. It's just me. Oh, Lord.
Can you get a continuance? Put it off again?
No, why? For what?
Well, for more support. 'Cause,
They put it off. I'm surprised they haven't put it off. They put the other one off like 4 times. I had to reschedule it. They rescheduled it. I didn't. But, you know, the prosecutors, I guess, got to prepare, and the judge has to have a trial date because I don't know how this goes down. For 2 courtrooms, I saw them that one day make over $150,000 mostly off marijuana, less than 3 grams of marijuana, because they get 2 charges, a possession and then now a paraphernalia charge.
You want me to get up?
Oh, Lord, we got a storm coming.
Yeah.
Here, left. I got
Sorry, what's your glass?
You're good. Oh, I got him.
Hey, you need anybody need an umbrella? I don't know. Do we need anything taken out? Any water?
Sorry about that. So we're going to be ending the show anyway. It's starting to rain here in Trenton. This is always fun. Rain in Trenton never stops us, though. Never, ever stops us. So thank you for listening to another SativaCross podcast. We want to thank our sponsors. MagicalButter.com. Actually, we have an announcement to make. Garen Angel said that he's going to give us 6 more machines to give away. So Garen's the man. And we're getting beach balls and T-shirts this time, too. So, yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I'm actually, I'm stoked about that.
No stickers. No.
Give me a second here. So, also our, here we go. I'm looking for our song here. Magical butter makes your recipes better. Be dialing 1-800-420-4334. 1-800-420-4334. Wait, let's get this right. 424. 1-800-420-4334. That's it. That works. Brownies, cookies, smoothies, sauces, soups, veggies, candy, salad dressings for your tossed salads. Yes, everybody loves a good tossed salad. Seafoods, marinades, meats, beverages, lotions, and salves, much, much more. Butter, tincture, peanut oil. Wow, that's really loud. Get your magical butter machine from magicalbutter.com. Tell them you know Garen Angel. Tell them you hang off the edges of buildings with Garen Angel. Oh, my expensive glasses. Thank you. Thank you. Also, medical-freedom.com. Get your State of Compassion flags from medical-freedom.com. Also, William Haney's mother's book, Joan Ford, The Falling Sickness, will be released very soon. Look for that.
I'm editing the foreword to it when I get home.
Nice. Thank you.
This song, by the way, was stuck in my head for a freaking hour on the way home last time.
Magical butter makes your recipes better. Yeah, it's a good song.
It is. Catchy.
But as happy as this song makes you,
yeah, you can.
You know where this is going.
You cut that down in a minute.
Because guess what? We lost one of our patients. 1 out of our 10 patients died.
Who? What?
Chad.
Died.
Chad died. Yeah, he was in hospice. He was sick. He was. His mom had actually brought a bed in to lay next to him and hold his hand at night, and apparently he passed before the holidays. So, yeah, shout out to Iris.
Sorry, Iris.
Yeah, it's really, really sad.
But Chad will continue to be a motivational factor in our lives, and we will not let him be forgotten.
No, we won't. No, and I want to help Iris in some way possible, because she not only lost her son, she lost her husband. You know, when Chad was diagnosed with brain cancer, her husband killed himself. So it left Iris all by herself to deal with this. And all we do was bring a magical butter machine to her and to try to help her in some way, because the program has failed them. The medical marijuana program has failed Chad and Iris.
Yeah.
Because if they had RSO 3 years ago when he was first diagnosed, maybe he would have had a fighting chance. Maybe.
And
we'll never know.
Maybe he would have not only lived longer, but with more quality of life, especially at the end.
Yeah.
Was this rain supposed to happen? Or is this just to get us in the mood for the final moments of the podcast, which are always somewhat sad, solemn anyway?
Yeah. Well, we have American refugees, Vivian Wilson, Jackson Storms, Sarah Estrella, Claudia, many, many more. Diane, many, many more besides that. That's
so many.
Those are the ones we know.
More all the time. And I forget his name, but a guy that lives in Pennsauken and wants to come back to New Jersey when it's legal for post-traumatic stress so he can go to Wawa and have pork roll again. Well, you can't get Wawa and pork roll.
No, you can't get pork roll. No. Wow. So, yeah, there's JacksonStorms.com. There's NewJerseyWeedman.com. There's CMMNJ.org. There's SativaCross.com. You got, boy, we got a bunch of them.
So many, you're going to have to start writing them down one day.
Someday.
Have a cheat list. But I'm impressed by the way you pretty much remember, you know?
We got Legalize for Lorelei. You got Tuffy's Fight. You got DavidVersusAutism.org. Jenny's Journey. Jenny's Purple Ribbon Journey. Prayers for Pete. Prayers for Sarah. And all the patients who are still waiting, like Chad, he's still waiting, even though he was a patient. He didn't get the medicine he needed in the form he needed. He didn't get the oil that he needed. to survive. It's fucking sad.
It is. And that's a well-placed adjective there. No problem there. It's always been that way. It's sort of like, yeah, but if it's like I have cancer, they should have oil the next day. The next day.
But they left it up to his mom, who did not know anything about this. His poor
Right.
mother, to like beg for help from us, and
while being a
terrible.
grieving widow herself, have to beg.
Oh. Okay. So yeah, Sabina Rose is still waiting, along with Chad, along with Cheryl Miller, Diane Ripatella, Gracie, Cindy May, Joan Ford, they shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We will.